Getting nasty on a Wednesday. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN with Andrew Marsh and Anthony Stalter. Our guy Dan McLaughlin back again, 2 to 6 today. Dan, how you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Great to be with you. Happy holidays, and always nice to fill in for Jamie. I'm sure it wasn't nice for him last night.
No, it probably wasn't.
No.
Not that you've been there before, Dan, where you're watching a team get their breaks beat off of them, and you got to find stuff to talk about.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
What stood out for you? Go right at it.
Well, Marsh.
I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah. You want me to go? Marsh, you mentioned this before. Spent a lot of time talking about doing what?
Staying out of the penalty box. That was
correct.
the main theme of our Blues conversations yesterday.
How'd you do in the first period last night with that?
The first 10 minutes, you took 2 penalties.
Okay.
And you were down 3-0 heading into the intermission.
You know, Anthony, I think you did say Blues win 4-2. I think you did. It was either off the air or on the air. I think, though, that is going to stick with you from last night.
All right. So, in fairness to me, Dan,
yeah,
I did say Blues 4-2 winner on air. After we got off air.
Not that I'm calling you out.
Again, in fairness to me, I was placating to our Blues listeners last night heading into the pregame show. I wanted to give them a little something. All right?
And you did.
In fairness to me, when these mics went off, you looked at me and said, "Do you really believe that?" I said, "No, Blues lose 5-0.
You did say 5-0.
Well, it's your fault then. You didn't believe hard enough.
No, I believe that they lose 5-0.
You didn't believe in this team to win. That's why they
course not.
lost.
You
They
know
never
what?
had a shot.
Did you see it last night?
Well, it's all your
You think
fault.
this team's good enough to go down to Tampa and beat them when they actually have their goaltender?
Not even close.
Blues are now 31 games into the season. All of the 15 losses have been by double digits. Third time losing by at least 5 goals. You're only 31 games into the season, and it's inconsistency again. Obviously, not staying 5-on-5 hurt them last night. Buchnevich gets benched towards the end of the game. I looked at that, though, as more being I'm sending a message if I'm Drew Bannister than I am saying I'm taking one of my best players and benching him. I think the message is to the individual to an extent, but it's far-reaching inside the room when you say, I'm getting after this guy, so others better step up.
Well, if you're Doug Armstrong and you're sitting there at the press conference, and one of the reasons why you fired Chief and one of the things moving forward is accountability, and you're going to be the interim head coach, and you're trying to make a claim here. The first time you're really getting run, you know you're going to lose this one. How are you going to hold a player accountable? You bench him. You pull Jordan Binnington last night after he gave up 5 goals on 23 shots. Like, not all his fault, but how else are you going to hold players accountable?
I thought one of the things that they had to do under a new coach would be get off to quicker starts. They were outshot 14-4 to start that game yesterday. They did have a power play goal. It's the second unit, but the first power play that went out there, they generated 1 shot. So all the things that got Craig Berube fired, and there was probably a number of things that you could look at, slow starts, Kyrou, power play, all these things, kind of reared its ugly head last night.
No doubt. It was all on display for you last night, which tells you what?
Maybe it wasn't the coach's fault?
Maybe it wasn't the coach's fault.
Yeah.
You got a player issue here. You got a roster issue here.
Really?
Yeah. Which is what we said last week.
When you guys are watching, didn't you think like the talent gap between Tampa Bay and the Blues was significant? I really did. I thought, man, I'm just watching 2 different teams, and I know Tampa Bay, record-wise, is not where they normally are. Now, part of that was their goaltender has missed considerable time, but some of their superstars are starting to become superstars again and playing at a high level. I just felt like, man, this is men against boys at times last night.
Dan, I would only say that the talent gap, I think, watching last night would be like a 49ers to Arizona Cardinals talent gap, something like that.
Yeah. So nothing too big.
Hey, the Cardinals didn't. I mean, yeah, they lost, but I mean, come on, they were a fumble away from that first half from making it a close game.
For the first half, 1 play, first half. Hey, we're in it. So they went to halftime.
You know, they overturned the call. Like, what are you going to do?
What I'm saying here, Marsh,
Took the wind out of their sails.
Dan's right. There's a bit of a talent gap when you're watching these 2 teams play. There's a bit of a stylistic gap, too. When you watch the Lightning move around the ice and you watch the Blues move around the ice, clunky, passing's not sharp. It's just, I don't want to get crude here, all right? Doesn't look good at all.
Nope. And the margin of error is slim. And so when you come out and you get outshot 14-4 and you fall behind 3-0, I just don't think there's enough firepower on the team to come back. And we talked about it yesterday. There's not a lot of star power on this team. That's a problem. They're playing 500 hockey. It's not a real entertaining brand of hockey right now. I'll tell you what, if I'm the Blues, and I don't care what Drew Bannister does this year or however long he's going to be here, I'm on the phone with the commissioner right now, and I'm dead serious about this, and I'm saying, what is the status of Joel Quenneville? Now, you want to energize a fan base here in town. He was a very popular head coach. He's been in situations like this, like when he started with the Blues and took over a team that talent gap-wise needed a lot of help, get you through the rough patch, and then become an elite team, which they were. They won the President's Trophy under Joel. I want to find out what's going on with him.
Yeah.
And I know he wants another bite at the apple. So I would look... If we're going to start, and again, it's only one loss under Drew Bannister. It was a bad game. I'm not blaming him. And I'm saying this could go on for months as him as the interim. I'm just saying one of my first calls is to Gary Bettman, and I want to find out what is the status of Joel Quenneville. That would excite this fan base. That also is a competent coach that you're bringing in with a championship pedigree.
Right. Yeah, Dan, to your point, who would be the next guy on the open market that would have the best resume that you'd be excited for if you were a team in need of a coach?
Joel Quenneville.
Besides Quenneville. So the next guy.
I don't know, man. You're going through some retreads probably, Marshy.
I would say Gerard Gallant.
Yeah.
Or it'd be Berube.
Oh, come on.
It would be. This is my point, though.
You're right.
Like, if you're Ottawa and you're looking at it and you need a head coach, you're thinking to yourself, that the best guy would be Craig Berube. So to Dan's point, the only guy that would make maybe Gallant, but the only other guy that would fire you up would be Quenneville.
Yeah, he'd move
Bruce
the needle.
Boudreau, too.
Bruce Boudreau is one I was going to mention.
Yeah, all right. Okay, so there's about 9 or 10 guys then that could be available. That would make sense. My bad on that.
Like 4.
Now, even if Drew, I want to make sure I'm clear about this.
4 more I thought you were going to bring up.
Even if Drew Bannister goes 10-0, I'd still be on the phone and just saying, covering every base that I got. I got Boudreau out there. I got Gerard Gallant. I've got maybe potentially Joel Quenneville. Is he some? I mean, to advance the story of where the Blues are at and thinking about who could be the next coach and who's a right fit here in St. Louis, I would just have to take a look at it and just say, okay, I checked that box. At least I looked into what is available with Q.
You're doing your due diligence.
Exactly.
Dan, you said this team's a boring hockey team. I don't think they play inspired.
He said they weren't fun to watch. He didn't call them boring.
Well, they're a boring hockey team.
True.
They don't play inspired hockey on a consistent basis, and I think everybody knows that. But you mentioned Pavel Buchnevich being benched. When your best players aren't even on the ice and they're not giving it 100% every night, you're going to be a 500 hockey team. We got a text from the 314. Interested to see what you guys think of this. Bannister's comments about Pavel Buchnevich were 100% Marmol-esque, calling out O'Neill early on. Here is Drew Bannister's comments about Pavel Buchnevich last night, and then we can decide if that is the case.
Yeah, I mean, he took 3 penalties. Like, Bucci's a good player for us, and he's no good to me in the penalty box. Like, he's got to be out on the ice. He's got to be effective that way. And, you know, I think for him, it's not only a message to him, but it's a message to the whole team. Like, you know, we need guys to play on the ice. They're no good to us in the penalty box. And, you know, so moving forward, that's the standard. Like, guys want to play. They have to earn their ice time.
I don't want to misconstrue what the texter said. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? Because all I heard was him telling it like it is. And Ollie, when he made those comments about Tyler O'Neill, some people had issues with it. Like, how could you do this out in public? As if Ollie did not have the conversation with Tyler O'Neill before going public. Already having that message be relayed to him. This is our expectation. And then going public with it. I get a little confused sometimes by us as fans when we pick and choose when we want the head coach to be hard on a player and call somebody out, and when we want to coddle a player and say, oh, you got to do that behind closed doors. Let's not assume, Dan, that message wasn't already relayed to some of these guys. And Bannister's right. What did Bannister say about Buchnevich that wasn't 100% correct?
He had a bad game, and I sat him.
Right. He does. He's right. How good is Pavel Buchnevich in the box?
Lessens your team. He's one of the skilled players on your team.
Yeah.
Again, margin for error, talent gap with some of the teams that they're facing. You know, the Blues, I don't want to say they have to play a perfect game, but, man, they've got to be all cylinders firing, so to speak.
No, they do have to.
It's got to be a really good game that they collectively play.
Let's think about this. They have to start fast, which means they have to score first. They have to stay out of the penalty box. Even when they get a power play, doesn't matter. So they have to be perfect 5-on-5. They can't fall behind by 2 goals or else that's an issue. It is. They play at least one bad period a game. It seems that way. They do have to be perfect.
Again, 15 losses by double digits in those games. 15.
Not great.
And you've had 3 games of 5 or more goals allowed in which they've lost. So, you know, when they lose, they lose.
Yes, they do.
And when they win, it's an exciting game, it seems like, down to the end. For the most part, when they win those games. Margin for error is slim.
Yeah. All right, it's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. What are proper expectations for the Cardinals this season? We're going to get into that in a little bit. One conversation I want to have related to the Cardinals, though, is what the hell's going on in the NL Central? I don't know whether to be somewhat excited that the rest of the teams are basically asleep at the wheel or if some big move is coming. We'll talk about that next on 101 ESPN. Hey, this weekend, or you know what, why not right now? If you're driving around, you're off, maybe you're off for the holidays, why don't you head down to Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum? They have unbelievable deals throughout the month of December, plus great financing options that are available to everyone. Yes, you driving right now with a shaky credit. I get it. It's okay. If you need a vehicle, Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum, they're going to finance the vehicle for you. They've got a great financing department that will work with you, make sure that you've got a monthly payment that is affordable, and also pair up, of course, with the vehicle that you're looking for. They've got great offers going on, including no money down, no payments for 90 days, and 0% APR for up to 5 years. Those are just some of the options throughout the month of December. Plus, you can enter to win a brand new Polaris ATV and grab a hot dog just for stopping by. It's all courtesy of Auto Centers Nissan Herculaneum, including the 30-day return promise, as well as the lifetime complimentary warranty on all new Nissans. Check out their dealership out in Herculaneum or visit them online at autocentersnissan.com. With Dan McLaughlin and Andrew Marsh, I'm Anthony Stalter. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, but why do you guys think the NL Central has been so quiet? And when I say the NL Central, I really mean the Cubs, because we know the Pirates aren't trying. We know the Reds stumble ass backwards into some of their young talents that they've collected over the years, and maybe I'm being too harsh on them, but they're playing young guys because they're not going to spend. And then you've got the Brewers, who we know are going to try to ditch any contract that could be coming up that they have to pay because they're the Tampa Bay Rays of the National League. So I'm really talking about the Cubs. We all anticipated that the Cubs, after hiring Craig Counsell, were going to spend all this money. Didn't get Ohtani. I think Yamamoto is a lock to go to the Dodgers. Even if they get Jordan Montgomery, who's excellent, he's coming off an excellent season, I don't think Jordan Montgomery changes the landscape of the Cubs, especially if they lose Cody Bellinger in free agency.
Cody Bellinger, MVP type year, too. I would anticipate, or at least I did anticipate, that he would re-sign with the Cubs.
Me too.
I was a little surprised that hasn't happened. They've got deep pockets. They can say initially, here's the market. We'll set the market with you and bring you back to Chicago. I'm a little surprised they haven't done that. I do like their rotation. I think if Steele is the guy that they expect him to be, they're going to be pretty good. I'll give you a team that's kind of a dark horse in this, though. That's Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. All the young players that they brought up last year, some of them at a high-end level, played at a high-end level. You only get better in that next year. Now, that could pertain to the Cardinals, too, with Jordan Walker, Mason Wynn. There's not enough of a sample size to really judge. I mean, he had 30, 40, 70 at-bats, something like that a year ago. So it's going to take a little time for him to get ingratiated, I think, to the big leagues, and next year is a big year for him. But I'm with you. Generally speaking, I'm just kind of surprised the rest of the Central hasn't spent more money.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Bellinger thing, too, with the Cubs. I thought that would be a slam dunk. He went to Chicago, tried to rehab his career.
Which he did.
And he did, rehab his market value. That's now sky high. He's one of the top free agents, pitching or position player-wise. And I thought maybe him going back to the Cubs would make a lot of sense. He seemingly liked his time in Chicago. And if you do have success, you have success with the ballpark in that division, all that, why not go right back there, assuming the Cubs want you back?
Yeah, well, I go back to the original point that you made. You spend $40 million on Craig Counsell, where a lot of times the decision-making, at least lineup construction, things of that nature, are dictated from the front office. Not always, but some. And some teams more than others, to where it's not like an old school manager where you're sitting there making the lineup card every day and I'm going to decide this and this is what I'm going to do in the sixth inning because a guy is 2 times through a lineup. A lot of that is dictated already through analytics and what you've been given prior to a game. I mean, it's just a stack full of information that a manager is given, and then you pay $40 million. I mean, he must be the great communicator of all communicators to get $40 million
right
to come in and get that job. But then you don't supplement the roster properly, at least not yet. It's kind of been a boring off season in Major League Baseball. Yep. There's still some big names out there, and maybe they're going to dip their toes into those waters, which I would anticipate. But it's just surprising to me that the Cubs haven't looked across this division and said, this could be ours for the taking with the money they spend.
Yeah. Do you think maybe they think that their roster is already good enough to win the Central? I mean, you look at the Brewers, they're trending downwards. The Cardinals, who are usually there, they were just in last place, sure, right? So you bring in a manager, perhaps that manager and Craig Counsell can win you a few games based on his managerial skills over what David Ross could do. And so they could have that mentality of just get in, anything could happen.
I hope that level of complacency has impacted the Cubs. I doubt it, but that would be great.
You think it's gone into the rest of the teams in the Central too? To where, hey, this division is we're not playing in the American League East. We're not going against juggernauts out west like the Dodgers. We can win this division without spending X amount of dollars.
I hate that. I don't know. I hate that line of thinking, though, especially from the Cardinals standpoint. I understand not wanting to compare yourself to the Dodgers when they're in a league all on their own. Phillies are playing at a level money-wise that you're not going to compete with.
Mets
too.
Yep.
What I don't understand, though, is not looking at your roster, whether you're the Cardinals, the Cubs, whoever, and not taking the approach of, I've got X amount of days until spring training. How else can I improve this roster?
I think
what else can I do?
100 days until opening day.
That's a lot of time, a lot of offseason. Free agents are still available. How can I improve my roster? Instead of looking at it, and I'm not saying this is how the front office for the Cardinals is thinking, but instead of looking at it and say, I can't compete with the Dodgers, but I think this is good enough to win the Central, why wouldn't you look at it and say, we still have a lot of ground to cover, and there's still guys that can help us? You don't have to spend a bunch of money, but you could still improve your roster.
Don't you think the mindset, though, might be that we do have enough to compete in the Central? And I'm not talking about the Cardinals. I'm just talking in general. That we have enough to compete in the Central, win this division. By the time we get to the trade deadline, we know our deficiencies that we probably knew going into the season, but they've reared its ugly head. Mm-hmm. And so now this is where we can improve our team. That by the time that we get to playoff baseball, we are the team that we want to be. Like, you don't necessarily look at it and say, all right, December 25th, this is my roster. You know what I mean? You give it time to kind of blend and see what you got.
That would make if that's the thought process, Dan. And because I feel like you're posing that question from the Cardinals' perspective. I'd actually be interested in what you think, because I think you think a little bit more along the way I am right now, which is that line of thinking makes me want to punch a hole in the wall. To think like, I did pretty good. Let's wait to the deadline. Let's see how this goes. No, what the are you talking about? Not you, but like, don't you, Dan, you look at this bullpen. You don't think that you can add something to this
Cardinals
pen
right now?
I heard you on these airwaves on this show talk about several guys you can add.
Yes, there's a bunch.
So if the Cardinals are thinking that way, join me and let's punch a hole in the wall.
Merry Christmas.
That's exactly what they're doing as Anthony's mic hits him in the face.
Yeah. Always.
I feel like that's the mindset of every team, unless you're the Cincinnati Reds, who had a solid ball club for a few months and then decided to do nothing at the deadline.
Well, Marsh, what else are you going to watch if you're in Cincinnati?
I mean, you could watch football.
That's what the owner said.
I couldn't believe when he did that. Really? Couldn't believe that. It was like 2 years ago.
How arrogant are you?
You got the soccer team, too, FC Cincinnati. I believe they're the regular season champions.
There you go. You got a lot of options if you're in Cincy. Got the Bearcats.
If you wanted to go for it in the Central, you'd win this division. You'd blow it away.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's there for the taking, and it seems like you say that every single year.
It's a horse crap division.
It doesn't measure up to the others.
It's a horse crap division.
The AL Central is the same way,
trying.
Though. The AL Central is the same way. Do you think it's the Midwest? Is it simply that? Because they know that teams on the coast are going to spend a bunch of money because they have the money.
Probably. And then it's this complacent attitude. I don't even care about spending the money. I care about how are you going to improve your roster. It doesn't necessarily have to be Yamamoto. That'd be great. But can you bring in a Josh Hader? Could you add Hader and Jordan Hicks and say, our bullpen's going to be really good? We like our internal options. I don't care. They're still there. That's why they're internal. They're going to be in-house no matter what.
Do you guys get the feeling that the Cardinals are done?
I do.
You really do?
Yes. And I'm starting to get angry about it.
If you bring in two relievers last week to Busch Stadium, it tells me you're probably not done yet. That they feel there's got to be some tinkering done with the bullpen.
That's a good point. But then the results are,
who do you get?
Yeah. And they didn't land those guys.
I mean, that's fair.
No, you're right. I mean, that they're still looking. They're still kicking the tires. So
I don't think they're done, but I think maybe a move could be some guy like named Curly or whatever that we've never heard of, that they bring in a part of the 40-man roster.
Is that a last name or
whatever you want it to be?
Madonna?
Yeah, he just has one name.
Curly.
Just one name.
Sure. He's pitching in like the Romanian softball league.
International market.
Yes.
40-man roster.
Right.
Never see him until maybe August.
Sure. Yeah.
You're like, who's this guy?
It's Curly.
Don't you already have those guys, though, in the minor leagues?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Let's play Are You Sold next.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Last night, the Blues lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning by a final score of 6-1. They will be back in action tomorrow night, taking on the Florida Panthers. Pregame starts at 5. Puck drop is at 6. We'll talk with Jeremy Rutherford in the 4 o'clock hour, so stay tuned for that. But once again, Blues Panthers tomorrow night. Pregame at 5, puck drop at 6. You can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. We are going to play Are You Sold coming up next. So if you have an Are You Sold that you want to send us, text us at the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Are You Sold coming up next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Are You Sold? I forgot what we're playing. Are You Sold? Text in right now, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. With Dan McLaughlin, I'm Anthony Stalter. Here's Andrew Marsh with some Are You Sold options.
Yeah, from the 636, are you sold that if the Cards go out and get Curly, the pitcher, that they will also pick up Mo and Larry as well? Well, they already have a Mo, so now we just need a Larry.
What about Yamamoto?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not sold that they would get all those guys. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they did, I'm all about it.
I'd be thrilled.
Another frontline starter, get yourself another, say, back-end innings reliever.
Dan, that'd be nice.
Different.
That'd be real nice.
Yeah.
Not having.
Andy from the Snake Pit is informing us that the Cards acquired relief pitcher Curly from the Mid-Atlantic League Jimstown Gyms.
Okay, yeah. Had a good year last year in that.
Old independent baseball, something like that. Find a guy.
Yeah.
Why not?
This guy's
Bring him up.
got a gem here.
Yeah.
Hidden gem.
What a story. All right, from the 314, are you sold on Mizzou being a top 4 team in the SEC next year?
You know what's interesting is that today's an exciting time, signing day around the country. Ryan Wingo, by the way, did sign with Texas. There was some folks this morning. He hadn't officially signed and then did make that commitment. But Mizzou, by all accounts, has had a good recruiting class. I think it's top 25, maybe top 30. In the SEC, it's like 10th. I mean, the SEC is just ridiculous in how they bring in kids, man. And you're going up against Alabama, you're going up against Georgia, now Texas, Oklahoma. But am I sold that they're going to be top 4 in the SEC? I would say next year there's a good shot.
I think they will be top 4 in the SEC next year. Yes. Let's just look at the schedule here. The non-con is pretty light. They got Murray State, which is a basketball school. They got Buffalo, which
is a school,
is an average MAC program. Okay, and I love the MAC. You know that, but that's
Tuesday nights with us and the MAC.
That's right, exactly. Boston College, which never has an offense. No offense to Dan. I know your brother played at Boston College.
My dad and my brother.
Okay, the last time they had an offense is when your dad and your brother were there.
It was a long time ago.
Yep.
Oh, your favorite quarterback played there.
Matt Ryan. Yeah.
I thought you were going to go Doug Flutie.
He also played
there. Yep.
Hail Mary, Miami, famous moment.
No doubt. Vanderbilt, which is, I'm surprised it's still a program. Texas A&M, which had an okay season this year. It's going to be in College Station. It's your first test, but that comes in week 6. Then they're at UMass.
The Minutemen?
Which is also a basketball school.
Hockey school, too.
And a hockey school.
Where Cale McCarr went.
Auburn, at Alabama. They're home against Oklahoma, at South Carolina, at Miss State, home against Arkansas. They got an easier schedule next year than they did this year, in my opinion, as we sit right now.
You mentioned
I think they're a top 4 team next year.
Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Do you guys watch I think it's like the Path to Baton Rouge, and it's a behind-the-scenes thing on LSU, and then there's one on Ole Miss. I think somebody else has one. And then there was the one on Vanderbilt that I caught the other day. I'm shocked that Vanderbilt was being featured.
Is this for football or just all sports?
This is football.
Oh, okay.
And, I mean, they did the build-up, Coach Smith is fired up for his Vanderbilt Commodores going into a huge week this boom, 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 and welcome in the Little Sisters of the Poor. And I was like, what is the deal with this? And it was, 14-10 at the half against a team that the rest of the SEC is putting up 50 on.
They go like slow-mo, dramatic,
all of it.
Music and all that. The editing is superb.
Yes.
Didn't they lose to the Little Sisters of the Poor?
This one came down to the wire.
They had a bad loss last year. Let me look this up so it doesn't bother me. I think they had a bad non-conference loss.
Well, they lost. They only won 2 games. They beat Alabama A&M.
They lost to UNLV.
47-13.
That was the one I was thinking of. They lost to UNLV.
And Alabama A&M, by the way, is the one that the show is based on.
Okay.
Yeah. It was one of their wins. It was highlighted by ESPN, and you got to see it.
Yeah, looking at it now, you're right. It was 12-3 at half.
See, I told you.
It was 12-3 at halftime.
Yeah. They started that year off 2-0. They go, hey, I think we got something brewing here.
Yeah.
Man, they were trailing. They were trailing 3-0. Tied it up. Dramatic first quarter, 3-3, and then Vanderbilt, they got the touchdown there in the second quarter, and then they started to roll. Wow.
Baseball, they're great.
Yeah.
They had some good years in basketball.
Yeah. Football, they have never been able to figure it out.
No.
All right. I didn't know this segment was going to turn into a bashing of Vanderbilt, but I'm here for it.
It's not really a bashing. It's more of informational.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
We're providing research
analytics
and factoids on Vanderbilt.
Things to watch during your Christmas holiday.
Sure. The
road through Alabama A&M.
Guys, we have got to stop the rock. I can just picture like an auditorium.
It went into the locker room. He's doing the whole thing, man.
Hyping him up. All right, you got one more. Are you sold?
Yeah, from the 314, are you sold on the Cards never having a legitimate competitive chance of making a World Series run while Mo and the current front office and ownership are still in place?
No.
No.
I'm not sold on that.
No.
Just got to get in, Dan.
Well, sometimes you just got to get in, and you never know what's going to happen, like in 06 and 11.
Yes.
I will say this. Since the DeWitts took over, they've got 12 division titles, 17 postseason appearances, and they lead the National League with 75 playoff wins.
There you go.
That's pretty good. There's been a lot of winning, and so what it tells you is that expectations are always high. They've set the bar, and that's good on them.
It is. All right, it's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. I was thinking about a couple of QBs in the NFL that are having really good years. One's an MVP candidate, although he has fallen off recently. One's an MVP candidate. The other does not receive his due because of who's around him. I think they're virtually the same player in a similar system. That's next on 101 ESPN. Marcus Whitman covers the NFL, and he had a couple of interesting tweets over the weekend. And actually, it wasn't over the weekend. It was on Monday night following the Eagles' loss to the Seahawks. And he tweeted out, "I'm ready for all the backlash. I don't really care. But Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy are much closer as players than 90% of the people care to admit." And he had said, not stylistically, but in terms of caliber. I couldn't agree more with him. He's right. Stylistically, of course, Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts are much different. Jalen Hurts is a runner. Brock Purdy is not. Jalen Hurts, a year ago, took the Eagles to a Super Bowl. If Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt, maybe it's Brock Purdy instead of Hurts. Either way, Hurts was phenomenal all last year. He's been in the MVP discussion all this season. But as soon as you bring up Brock Purdy in the MVP discussion, it's like people lose their minds, Dan. They can't fathom how a quarterback who has Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle in the same offense can win an MVP, yet Jalen Hurts, who's got Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert when healthy, and now DeAndre Swift, and one of the best offensive lines in football, no problem with that. Stylistically, in that system, I think they're a hell of a lot closer, again, save for the rushing ability. What do you think?
Okay, so I went back and looked at this with Brock Purdy. Right now, think about some of these numbers I'm going to throw at you. He's got the fourth highest single-season passer rating through 15 games since 2000. He's 119. Only better was Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. All three won the MVP. Now, when you're talking about having cast of characters around you, I went back and looked at when they were struggling. Remember, they went 0-3 in that stretch, talking about the Niners. Trent Williams was out. Deebo Samuel was out. They go 0-3. Deebo Samuel, in his last 4 games, has 8 touchdowns and 441 yards.
Yeah.
So the point being that he's got a tackle that is as good as anybody in the league. And when he was hurt, struggled, more pressure. And he's got a guy in Deebo Samuel that's one of the most talented players in the league. And when he was out, he struggled. So how much is he relying on others just to be a game manager, so to speak? And I don't like it when people say, I mean, you're in the NFL and you're making plays, you're playing.
Yeah.
Now, you may have better talent around you, but I think you're more than just a game manager. But how much does he rely on the others in his system? And that's not even talking about Ayuk. It's not talking about McCaffrey. We're talking about a tackle and Deebo Samuel that was out, and they go 0-3. Would that deter your opinion of what he is?
Which quarterback, it's a good question. Which quarterback doesn't rely on his weapons and is still in that top conversation? Maybe Lamar.
That's the one that comes to mind for me.
Right? That is.
And he's had his tight end out who's unbelievable.
Mark Andrews. Yep.
And still is putting up numbers.
Sure. So I think Lamar is the only guy that you look at it and say, okay, he doesn't necessarily have to, quote unquote, rely on his weapons. Maybe Mahomes too, but now Mahomes, it's been interesting. You're watching all these drops. You're watching Kelsey play virtually on one leg and with one arm now. It's not the same offense. So we can't have it both ways. We're talking about Mahomes can do it, yet this year that offense has taken a big step back because his weapons aren't up to snuff. Dan, I think that with fantasy football, the whole idea of building a football team, a winning football team, is diluted. We play fantasy football, so we slot in, here's my quarterback, here's my running back, here's my wide receiver, tight end, all that. And we say, how are they performing individually? But when you get back to how do you build a football team, you build it inside out. Offensive line, quarterback, then, and let's just talk offense for a second here. Offensive line, quarterback, then you can go outside with your wide receivers and your running backs and all that. Every winning football team has had a strong head coach / play caller, a quarterback, an offensive line that makes everything hum, and then a couple of weapons. What team, outside the Patriots maybe. The Patriots are the only team that might kind of defy that a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's a winning football team. Yet we want to do the fantasy football deal where we're comparing Lamar to Mahomes or Mahomes to whoever, and the only thing that we can think of to separate it is wins and losses, or whether or not you won a Super Bowl, or whether or not you got your team to the Super Bowl. Nobody was ready to give Joe Burrow the elite status until he got his team to the Super Bowl, and then back to an AFC championship game. It's about building a team. But I think the fantasy football conversation ruins it because we just want to separate these guys, and then we want to take away what Brock Purdy's doing because he's got Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel around him.
So when you look at the MVP, valuable to his team the most or valuable in the league, which is always, to me, the question when you talk about this, is he most valuable to his team? So if you took Brock Purdy out of San Francisco, what would happen with the 49ers? Could a backup do what this guy's doing? Probably not to that level.
No, they couldn't. Because Trey Lance had a couple of games. He didn't look like this.
So if you did that, or if Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel are out and they go 0-3, is that a reflection on Brock Purdy at all? You understand what I'm saying?
Sure. Let me ask you this. Jimmy G and Brock Purdy. Who do you want?
Brock Purdy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jimmy G put up good numbers, and he had all these guys around him. Yet he was never in the MVP discussion. Why? Because he wasn't doing what Brock Purdy's doing. Brock Purdy, perfect situation, system, everything. But he has elevated it. He takes more shots downfield than Jimmy G did. You talk about game manager. Don't turn the ball over. Just take the profits in front of you. Don't lose the game before you have an opportunity to win it. That's not Brock Purdy.
I agree. He's taking deep shots. He's doing those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think I may have skirted your question about the MVP.
No.
I think it's most valuable to your team, and then how does that compare to other guys in that category around the league?
I was looking at the Vegas odds the other day. See what you think of this. Jalen Hurts led Brock Purdy in the MVP race going into Week 15.
Right.
Okay. Recent odds as of today have it Purdy, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott. Who do you think is fourth?
You said Purdy, Dak Prescott, and who?
Purdy, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, 1, 2, 3 in odds for the MVP. Who do you think is fourth now?
McCaffrey.
Josh Allen.
Wow.
Josh Allen. And then it's McCaffrey.
So we're kind of going on wins and losses and who's the hot
guy
name
right now.
Yeah.
I mean, if Josh Allen wins out, which they have to win out more than likely to get into the playoffs, and they do it in convincing fashion, and they just went through a gauntlet of their schedule, how is he not in that conversation?
Yeah.
He's got to be.
Absolutely.
It's got to be. So is he the most valuable to his team? Yeah, because he's going to probably lead you there with lesser talent around him. Now, he's got talent, but is it lesser than what we're talking about with the Eagles and the 49ers?
It is, and look at the record. Right, that
point made.
I think we just combined our takes, Dan. You're right. So Josh Allen is doing a lot with less than what we just talked about. But if you look at the records, there's a reason why Buffalo, as a team, has a worse record than Philadelphia and Dallas and San Francisco.
My point. Yeah. Josh Allen fourth on the MVP right now in the odds at Vegas.
And didn't even throw for 100 yards last week.
Exactly.
And they destroyed Dallas because it was a team effort.
He had 7 completions.
Yeah.
He was 7 of 15.
Didn't need to do anything more than manage the game, right?
Yes. So that's to your point. I don't know. I think it's interesting conversation. I don't get too much into this, but I do think it's interesting.
Yeah.
If you were going to take Jalen Hurts, here's the one way I would take it too, is in this conversation. And this kind of was following what you're saying. If you said, I have a choice between Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, Josh Allen, name another quarterback that you want in that. Mahomes. Who do you take? And is that the most valuable player in the league?
I would take Mahomes because he's a freak.
Yeah.
Is he the MVP this year? Probably not.
But is that a byproduct of guys dropping the ball all over the place?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Right. So we go back to Purdy, right? We knock Purdy because he's got great weapons that are producing, yet we know that Mahomes probably is an MVP candidate. Why? Because his guys around him aren't helping him.
If he had Tyreek Hill, is he the MVP this year?
Yeah.
I think so, too. So you better have talent around you, and that's going to help you get the MVP.
There you go.
Just for food
Did
for
we just
thought.
solve the whole world's problems?
We went deep into that.
Yeah, we certainly
liked
did.
it.
Yeah.
Food for thought for the people that are hating on Brock Purdy and his MVP candidacy. I'll throw some numbers for them. Brock Purdy ranks second in the league in passing yards with 3,795. His air yards, and this is according to playerprofile.com, his air yards are 2,897, almost a 1,000-yard difference, almost. And he ranks 18th. So, yeah, that goes to the fact that a lot of these players are getting a lot of yards after the catch.
But what is his average yards per attempt? I think it's almost 10.
8.1 ranks 12th.
His average yards per attempt is only 8.1.
His adjusted yards per attempt is 9.7, which
Okay.
is ranks number 1.
Okay, so it's not just yards after the catch. The ball is in the air for a while. On average, he's almost throwing a first down. Every time he completes the ball, it's almost a first down while the ball is in the air, not after it was caught. That's what that means.
And
Which is impressive.
Here's another impressive one. He's number 1 in deep ball completion percentage at 58.5%.
Let me ask you this one. You love football. You love the history of the game. In 1994, the Niners had Steve Young, Garrison Hurst, Jerry Rice, and Terrell Owens.
Those guys sucked.
You want that cast of characters, or do you want this year's version? It's a pretty good question.
Oh, wow.
Probably the team that
You said Hurst, Rice.
could win.
Owens and Steve Young.
Owens and Steve Young.
How good was that team?
I mean, that was a Super Bowl team. I'll take the
I'm
Super Bowl
taking
team.
the Super Bowl team.
But this year should be a Super Bowl team, though.
Yes.
The Niners are going to go to the Super Bowl.
They figure out ways to lose.
You put him in Dallas's category?
Who's going to beat them in the NFC?
Who's going to beat him in the NFC, Marsh?
I'm not saying they won't make the Super Bowl.
But are they going to win it?
Who's going to beat them in the
Who's going to
AFC?
beat him?
Whatever AFC team decides to get their stuff together. And
What if it's the Colts?
Anthony, come on now.
Colts got a free win this week. They're gonna win the division.
Are they playing
Probably.
the Falcons? That makes sense.
To turn it back to
Love
Kakaw.
the Falcons.
I'd love to hate them. It's fascinating on 101 ESPN. Is defense the key to the Cardinals rebounding this season? The key? No. A key? Absolutely. We'll get into that next on 101 ESPN. Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Dan McLaughlin, Anthony Stalter, Andrew Marsh, 304. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. One thing for the Cardinals next year, when the games actually start to matter again, that I think, guys, is absolutely 100% imperative, is this team has got to get back to having elite defense. I mean elite. I don't mean better than a year ago, because it wasn't that great a year ago. I mean elite defense. If you want to combat some of the disadvantages that you have against the Dodgers, the Braves, the Phillies, whoever, is having elite defense, not beating yourself. I don't know if they can have elite defense. I have faith that it'll get better than it was a year ago, based on, we can go through the entire outfield and infield and all that. But I know, Dan, if this team wants to make the playoffs, win a division, whatever, they have the capability of having elite defense, and they have to have it. They have to play suffocating defense.
Bullpen ranked 29th in strikeout rate. So that tells me that a lot of balls are being put in play. Mm-hmm. They've got pitch to contact guys in their rotation. So to further your point, 100%. I think one of the things that's going to help them, though, is if Nootbaar can give them, let's say, 140 games. I mean, his first 2 years, he played 108 games in 22. He played 118 last year. Now, I loved him against right-handed pitching. He tore it up down the stretch. But him being an everyday left fielder, and I'm going to pencil him in right now at left field, knowing that Tommy Edman is an everyday center fielder, and he's a good one. Not great, but he's pretty good. And I'm not robbing Peter to pay Paul if I play Brendan Donovan every day at second base, with the occasional start going to Nolan Gorman. And I don't think you really get burned that much when you play a guy and you're saying he's going to play a couple times a week in that position. He may burn you here and there with a defensive liability, but I don't think he's as bad as people think, or maybe as the numbers suggest. I actually think he's a little bit better. So if you have that, to further the point here, is if you have guys that are healthy and stay in the lineup every day, this team should be better defensively. Yeah. It just should be.
Yeah, so let's do this. So you got Nootbaar, you got Tommy Edman, who proved last year that he can play. He's your best center fielder.
On this roster, I'd say even more so than Newt. Yes. I like him out there.
So you got Newt, you got Edman, and then you got Jordan Walker. And I would imagine another year of development for Jordan Walker means better defensive play. He's got to get better. And it's not just showcasing the arm. It's having an accurate arm, a reliable arm, and playing some of the small stuff, going into the corner. I mean, how many times you see the ball kick out? A lot of it's reps. A lot of it's experience. It's knowing the ballparks. He's got to get better, and I think he will. He's a young guy.
When I think of defense, too, it's got to start
up the middle.
Mm-hmm. So now I'm going to start with the catcher. Wilson Contreras has got to be better. I would think that some of the input that Yachty has with him will make him a little bit better.
Absolutely.
And I'm talking about pitch calling, game preparation, things that you can fix in games of approach. That should be better. Mason Wynn, I think, is going to be really good defensively at short. Now, it'll be his first full season, but still I anticipate that he's going to be just fine. Now, having every day of Brendan Donovan at second base, I like that a lot, and I like Tommy Edman. So we're going back to being in there every day, answering the bell, and for the better part of, let's say, 135 to 145, that's your group going forward. And on the wings, if you will, in left and right, like you said, Walker gets a little bit better. I know what I got at third and first. It should be a better team defensively.
And hopefully Nolan Arenado, whatever was ailing him last year, he didn't look 100% healthy. I don't think he was. Whatever was ailing him last year, he's got to get back to who he is, because he's one of the best defensive third basemen in Major League Baseball history. So he's got to get back to it. And Goldie is your staple at first base. This is a defense that could be and should be one of the best in all of baseball, not just the National League.
I'm glad you brought up defense, because to me in the offseason, this has been overlooked, and so much attention, rightfully so, has been made to the pitching. Had to be better than what you had a year ago, and making some of the moves that they made with the rotation, trying to upgrade your bullpen. But something that I look at too, and this relates to like Nootbaar playing every day and having a healthy Brendan Donovan, Walker another year under his belt. Mason Wynn, you're anticipating much better numbers than a year ago. Can Goldie, there's a lot of what ifs, but what if Goldie and Arenado get back to being Goldie and Arenado, which might be asking too much at their age. I don't know. But they rank 19th in the majors with an average of just 4 runs per game. Mm-hmm. So while I like the lineup, there's got to be some things that happen, meaning that guys play every day and produce.
Absolutely.
And so that's part of tying in to your defense, being there every day, but also what the lineup looks like every day too.
Well, I think we should get into this offense today. I do. Because when you look at it last year, one of the reasons, and I'll just speak for myself, one of the reasons going into the year I was still high on this team was because of the offense. I looked at the pitching and I said, not great, but boy, this offense is going to carry you. And it didn't. And I'm not putting it all in the off. Look, the pitching stunk, top to bottom. The rotation stunk. The bullpen stunk. You had too many blown games, blown leads, blown saves right from the get-go. You should have won game 1 on March 30th against the Blue Jays last year. You didn't because your bullpen and your starting pitching wasn't good enough. When it comes to the offense, though, I think there's a bigger conversation about whether or not the on-paper product will match the results when it's all said and done. But one more thing on this, defensively and offensively, you brought up Mason Wynn. I'm so excited to watch him play defensively because he's got that arm. He covers a lot of ground at short. I hope he bats 9th for most of the year. I don't care if he hits a $180, but plays elite defense and gives us some speed on the base pass.
I was going to say, I don't care if he goes into spring training and hits 100. Mm-hmm. And people are saying, well, this is going to carry over into the regular season and he didn't truly make the club. I don't care. In my mind, he's made the club.
Yes.
Just come out of it healthy when you come out of spring training because I think his skill set plays to be an exciting player. Mm-hmm. You're going to want to watch him. He's got speed. He's got the big arm. He's going to have range at shortstop. I want to watch those kind of guys. Just from a fan's perspective, I think he's going to be good for the team. And that you want wins and losses. I get that. He's going to contribute to his fair share. But when I go to the ballpark, I want to watch some athletes play. I want to see guys that have skill, have something different on the field that others don't. This guy's throwing 98 from the hole at short over to first base. I like seeing that.
Me too.
That's something you're not going to see every day.
Well, that before we started to get into the 3 true outcomes, I mean, you think about the 90s, the shortstops they had from Jeter. And I know, like, late career Jeter, there was a lot of talk about, he's not the same defensive player. Of course he wasn't. Early career Jeter was one of the best defensive shortstops in the game.
He was very good. He didn't get the credit that he deserved.
No. A-Rod, you had, who else you had? You had
Garcia Parra, yep. Those are the big 3 coming out of the American League.
Even Ordonez for the Mets was an elite defender.
He was fun to watch, yeah.
I know I'm missing some guys. Omar Vizquel was great defensively for a very long time. You had defensive guys. And, of course, if you go further than that, Ozzie Smith. This is a fan base that grew up watching Ozzie Smith.
And grew up watching fundamentally sound defense.
I would love to see that return this year for the Cardinals.
I think it can be. I think, again, it's what ifs, and that's the game we play when we're doing this kind of stuff. If this happens, this could happen. But if they stay healthy and you get 135 starts, 145 out of this group of guys that we're talking about, the core players, they should be good defensively. And they're going to need to be because the strikeout rate, swing and miss, is not a ton in their bullpen, and it's not a ton in their rotations. You're going to have that.
No doubt.
By the way, MLB Network came out with their top 9 shortstops of all time since 1947. I believe this was last week. Ozzie Smith was not on that list.
Was it a comprehensive list of both offense and defense, I would imagine, then?
Just at MLB Network's prime 9 shortstops. You want me to run through the names?
It's got to be offensive guys that they're looking at.
So we have A-Rod, Cal Ripken Jr., Ernie Banks, Derek Jeter, Robin Yount, Robin Yount. Barry Larkin, Alan Trammell, Luis, I don't know how to say this guy's name.
Luis Aparicio.
There we go. Nomar Garciaparra.
Okay. So there's a lot of offensive guys there. It's a good list, don't get me wrong. But if you were to do your top defensive shortstops of all time, I mean, there's really no question that Ozzie would be.
Well, why not combine both of them?
And how many runs did he save with his defense that he didn't drive in with his bat? And he turned himself into a hell of a hitter.
Yes.
He over 2,500 hits.
It reminds me of Yachty. Like Yachty defensively at the start of his career. Yachty throughout his entire career, period, defensively was just ungodly. The bat, though, is like, hey, don't worry about it, kid. And then he had the one year where he hit the 20 home runs. The bat started to come alive. Then toward the end, it was more, he'll move the runner over, situational baseball. That's what I would look for out of Mason Wynn to start.
Felt like when Yachty was up and there was a guy at first base,
he's going to move him over.
You're going to see him move him over. Some way, somehow, he's going to get that guy in scoring position. And I know analytics say what they say, but in my opinion, there's still a place for that. You just don't see it. And I'm not sure guys know how to do it.
No,
I don't think
they think it.
Exactly. Well, that's the main thing is they don't think that way. Right.
Hard to be invested in if you're not thinking about it.
Exactly.
One thing I loved about Yachty was he was very aggressive on first pitch strike or just the first pitch in general, and was able to shoot that ball to the right side of the field to move those runners over.
No doubt.
I always really appreciated that.
Get a guy in a slump, you commit them to swinging at the first pitch. Just one way or another, it's hit and run, you got to swing.
Right.
That's something that you do.
That's Dan McLaughlin. That's Andrew Marsham. Anthony Stalter's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. We'll do our NFL stock market next. Fastline on 101 ESPN. Dan McLaughlin in for Jamie Rivers. I'm Anthony Stalter. Here's Andrew Marsh with our NFL stock market today.
All right, today we are doing MVP candidates. We talked earlier about Brock Purdy.
Let's get into it again.
And Jalen Hurts. Let's start off with Dak Prescott, who did not have a great game this past week. Buy, sell, or hold?
Selling that MVP candidate until they can win games on the road. And the fact that there were, I think, 28 million people watching that game this weekend. Not that that would really matter, but one of my point is that all eyes were on that game against Buffalo.
Yeah.
And they came up short in a big way. So I think that's going to hurt his chances. They just can't win away from home for the most part.
Yeah, and he was really under siege, too. He didn't have much of a shot. I'm going to hold on his MVP candidate, the candidacy. I'm not going to sell quite yet. They've got Miami this weekend in Miami, so a pretty good team to try to prove yourself against.
Some good games this weekend.
This slate is pretty good. You got the Ravens and Niners.
Delight.
It's a Christmas miracle. You got Ravens and 49ers on Monday night. You've got Cowboys and Dolphins. Even if you look at, like the Lions and Vikings, knowing the playoff implications for both sides there. Jaguars, Bucks, Saints, Rams, two teams that are still in the playoff mix, even though they're 7-7. I'm going to hold on Dak.
Hold, not sell.
Hold, not sell.
Interesting.
I don't think he's out of it.
Okay.
Anthony, you mentioned the Miami Dolphins. Our next player is Tyreek Hill. Buy, sell, or hold?
I'm buying.
I'm going to buy. Let's buy low.
Gets to 2,000. It's tough to turn your cheek to that one.
I agree.
But isn't it interesting, though, that I said the numbers that I looked up in Vegas in terms of the odds for the MVP with 3 weeks to go, and he's not in the top 6.
I wonder if they're anticipating that he's going to be out, because even if you miss this game, and I don't think he practiced today, if you miss this game, that's going to be tough. You're not going to get the 2,000 that you need.
How far away is he now?
He's like 600
with 3 games to go. Yeah, it's going to be tough.
I mean,
that's some big games coming if he gets
real big
there.
games.
200 plus each game.
Yeah, and they got Dallas this weekend. Dallas' secondary and pass rush is pretty good. Then they've got, where's Miami here? They got the Ravens next weekend. He ain't getting there.
How many of those games are at home?
This week is at home, and then the final week against Buffalo is at home.
That's what I thought. They had 2 or 3.
You know what, Dan? I'll buy a little bit, but I don't think we're getting there with Tyreek. I'll buy while it's low right now.
Buy low. I'm out.
Knowing that you're not going to be able to sell it. Like, you're buying low right now, and that's it.
I think he's got to get to 2,000, and I don't see him getting there.
All right, fine, Dan. Just jump off the Tyreek bandwagon.
I did.
We have Baltimore, San Francisco, Christmas night. Should be a great game. And the one player I think is going to have a huge game is Lamar Jackson. Buy, sell, or hold?
I will buy on Lamar because I think, going back to our conversation, Dan, about the QB that is doing more with less. You lose Mark Andrews. I kept telling people, signing Odell Beckham Jr. did nothing for me. He's a possession receiver at this point. We all want to go back to either the first half of the Super Bowl with the Rams or him catching the one-handed pass of the Giants. We keep wanting to go back. That's not Odell anymore. Zay Flowers is a much better receiver and a much more dynamic receiver than Odell at this point in both careers. Zay Flowers is a rookie. Then you got Rashad Bateman. He doesn't have elite talent around him. They just lost Mitchell, their young back, who gave them some explosiveness there. It's basically Lamar.
I find myself...
So I'll buy on that.
Okay, I'll buy too, because I basically find myself, when Red Zone is on and the Ravens pop up, I love watching that guy play.
Me too.
He makes me stop and want to watch. He is so much fun to watch. I was trying to think, who are the top 3 players that I will sit and watch their game from opening kickoff to the end. Lamar is one of them. I love watching Christian McCaffrey. I think he's just an exceptional player. I like watching Jalen Hurts because I like the way that he handles himself.
Yeah.
I think he's a consummate pro, if you will, and how he good, bad, and different. I wouldn't know the difference. And he's putting up numbers. Those are the 3 that I think of. I'm probably missing guys. Tyreek Hill. Mahomes is another one. Yeah. Tyreek Hill is another one.
I would say Mahomes, Lamar. Other guys I just absolutely have to watch. I mean, Tyreek's a good one, but if we just stay in the quarterback,
Josh Allen is one.
Allen.
Yeah.
I like watching Jalen Hurts, too.
Anthony, you mentioned OBJ. Are you saying that we shouldn't judge someone in sports based on what they did in the past? Shouldn't judge their performance today based on what happened in the past?
Yes.
Interesting.
Good luck being an agent.
What are we saying, Marsh?
I'm just saying. We bring up certain years in the past.
So we should just judge them that way?
I'm just saying.
Okay. All right.
If you catch my drift.
I smell what you're cooking.
Okay.
I smell what you're I smell what you're stepping in.
Go ahead.
Cookies, probably.
Okay.
I guess you bake cookies, you know.
Step in that, too.
Lamar Jackson taking on the 49ers, and their quarterback is Brock Purdy. Buy, sell, or hold?
Bye.
I'm buying that. He's going to win the MVP.
He's been phenomenal this year.
He's going to win the
He's
MVP.
got a lot around him. So does Dak, so does Jalen Hurts, so does everybody not named Lamar.
Fourth highest single-season passer rating in the league through 15 weeks since 2000.
If you actually watch him play, you would be impressed.
Yeah. Throws a deep ball, throws it underneath, stays in the pocket, takes hits. He does all the cliche
Absolutely.
things that you have to do.
Yep, got it. He has just enough mobility to extend plays.
Exactly.
Buy.
What about his teammate, Christian McCaffrey? Buy, sell, or hold?
Let's buy on him, too.
Love watching him. I'm buying that, too.
If it doesn't go to Purdy, it's probably going to go to McCaffrey.
I don't know if you can call him like a true running back.
He does it all.
Exactly.
By the way, he's the only running back that you draft in the top 10. He's the only one.
Does so much. Out of the backfield, catches balls, goes over the middle. He does everything.
He does not have to leave the field. You can line him up in the slot. He's a running back. He's a receiver.
Kick return with him.
I mean, stop with the other guys.
Some are saying he should play defense too.
Maybe a cornerback.
Maybe
for a certain team.
Imagine him as a safety going over the middle with some of these guys. He'd destroy them. He is one tough dude. Yeah,
he's very tough. I don't know if I want to see that though.
He gets beat up.
Yeah, he's got the injury history.
Wonder about his shelf life.
Well,
how much longer in a 17-game NFL season with playoffs, intensity high, that you last this long in the league?
I thought they were going to start getting him some time over the last couple of weeks, getting in like Jordan Mason and Mitchell and those guys get like some more touches for them, so he stops taking the beating. But I don't know.
636 says McCaffrey is the modern day Marshall Faulk.
I
think that's a good comp.
Yep, I could buy that. Very unique.
Let's do one more. Josh Allen, buy, sell, or hold?
Buy.
I got to buy too.
Boy, I'm buying a lot.
It's all right.
There's only one MVP. I'm buying too much stock here today.
You want to sell one real quick?
Yeah, I'll sell
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I'll sell Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
To get some Josh Allen stock.
As of today, Purdy, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, your odds for MVP, and fourth now, Josh Allen, which I think would surprise a lot of people because of the way that they played. But now the way that they're coming on, I mean, no one wants to face the Bills right now and what they're doing down the stretch.
Yep.
Nobody.
I'll sell the Tyreek stock too.
Really?
I have to. Yeah, I have to. If I'm going to buy some, I got to sell some. So I'm going to sell the Tyreek. Dan's right. He's not getting to 2,000. Plus, they just pistol whipped the Jets last week without him. So yeah, I got to sell Tyreek. By the way, BTW, Ken Rosenthal reporting that the Mets are acquiring right-hander Adrian Hauser and outfielder Tyrone Taylor from the Brewers for a minor leaguer. So the Brewers
are
speaking
all out.
of selling. They're selling.
They're
in
out.
sell mode.
Next one will be, Corbin Burns.
Yep.
He'll be gone.
He'd look good in a Cardinals uniform.
He'd look good in any uniform.
True.
The guy's a stud.
Yeah.
They're out. Yeah, that's another team out. You wouldn't think that Pittsburgh is going to do much. Cincinnati's not going to spend a ton of money.
Nope.
It's the Cardinals and the Cubs here in free agency.
What a year it's going to be.
At least in the NL Central. It's Fastlane on 101 at ESPN. We're going to play Prove Me Wrong. If you got a Prove Me Wrong statement, you can send it into the Air Comfort Service text line at 314-399-9646. Again, Prove Me Wrong. Dan, this is where we're trying to prove the statement wrong.
Prove it wrong.
Yeah, my record took a hit last time when you were on because you kept proving it right.
Did I mess up the segment?
You messed it up real good.
I mess up a lot.
Dan's going to get right next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues lost last night to the Tampa Bay Lightning by a final score of 6-1. They will be back in action tomorrow, taking on the Florida Panthers. Pregame starts at 5. Puck drop is at 6. We will talk with Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider from The Athletic, at 4:30, so stay tuned for that. But once again, Blues and Panthers tomorrow night. Pregame starts at 5. Puck drop is at 6. We have Prove Me Wrong coming up next. If you have a Prove Me Wrong statement, send it our way to the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646. Prove Me Wrong coming up next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Prove me wrong, kids. Prove me wrong.
All right, let's play a little Prove Me Wrong here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. This is where the texter, Dan, gives us a statement, and we have to prove them wrong. Prove them wrong.
So you specifically lined out the rules for this segment.
Yes.
Specifically for me.
You and I are on the same team.
I didn't do it very well last week, did I?
This is the law firm of McLaughlin and Stalter against the defendant.
I got you.
Or the prosecutor being
Mr.
the
Listener.
texter. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Marsh is the Honorable Judge Marshy Marsh. He rules on the case. All right.
You guys ready for your first case?
Yes.
Let's do it. From the 636, Prove Me Wrong. The Blues power play will finish over 15%. I believe they're at like 9, or it could be lower than that now.
I don't see what you have seen in the last couple of games to believe that's going to turn around, including the fact, Dan, that you mentioned this before. The first power play unit had how many shots?
One last night.
One.
On their first power play.
The game before, I don't think the first unit had a lot of shots either.
They didn't score. The power play, actually, the last 2 games, they've got a couple of power play goals. So to the texter's point, it's edging closer to the 15%. Mm-hmm. However, it was scored by the second unit, and I don't see it happening. I'm with you. I don't see shooting the puck, which is the idea. Shoot the puck.
Right.
You notice that in these games? They don't shoot the puck.
They don't shoot at all.
Shoot!
Just pass it back and forth.
Shoot the puck.
Waiting for that perfect opportunity.
Shoot the puck.
To allow the opponent to get their player out of the box.
Yeah.
Is what they're trying to do.
Takes 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Then it counts down.
Yep.
And you have a 5-on-4.
Right.
So you got a man advantage, and you shoot the puck.
One shot.
Give me one. Give me more than one.
They're at 10% right now. They are the second worst in the league, right in front of the Washington Caps. Capitals have 9.8. That's their clip on the power play. So not too far behind from being from jumping the Blues, but 15%. I don't know. I went to the game a few weeks ago. I'm never one of those people to say shoot, like the people that say shoot.
But even you.
I found myself, yes.
Shoot it.
I was like, shoot. I wasn't screaming it, but under my breath, I'm like, shoot the damn puck. Like, you have an open lane. There's 2 guys in front, which rarely happens these days. Shoot the puck.
Yeah. But they refuse to.
Well, they started shooting more on these, not last night, but the previous 2 nights.
Yeah.
And they're generating a ton of offense. It's wild how that happens.
Right. But 15%. With this group, this current group, I don't think so. Yes. We did it, Dan.
Nice work, teammate.
Nice work.
Teammate. It's what teammates do.
The law firm of McLaughlin and Stalter.
I love it.
Winning their first case.
Here's the next one from the 618. Prove me wrong. Next year's Mizzou football season will be the most important in Drink's career.
So we have to prove them wrong. Then what if I agree with? I can't agree with this is hard.
This year was the most important because it builds for next year.
There you go.
You don't beat Kansas State, you're not getting some of these recruits. You don't hang in there with Georgia in between the hedges, you don't get these recruits. You lose to Kentucky on the road after you're trailing by 2 scores, you don't get these recruits. This was the most important year for Drink because who knows if he's even here by the end of it if things go sideways.
Partner, there's actually a lot of truth to what you just said.
Thank you, Dan.
I don't know if I could follow it up with much more flavor than you did.
It was this year, Dan, because it builds for next year.
So thank Mr. Mevis for sending this team to get these great recruits.
At that 98-yard field goal.
98 and a half.
Yeah, 98 and a half.
Could have been 93 if they didn't take that penalty for not being ready.
Very true.
How about if he, honestly, what if that would have happened and that
Either here or there.
Seriously, and it sent you in a tailspin?
Oh, boy.
It very well could have.
But it didn't.
And the conversation becomes, what is Drink doing?
100%. I mean, we were doing the show. All of us were doing the show after that weekend. And we were talking about what a great win it was, and the place went nuts, and Mevis hits the 61-yarder or whatever it was, and they win the game. And I suddenly brought it up. I go, guys, he did mess up the play, the clock at the end, and they took a 5-yard penalty. Yeah, but who cares about that? You got Mevis. I get it. He got it. He hit the kick. Mm-hmm. But seriously, what if that would have cost him? He hits it right down the middle and a 2 yards short. You're like, what is Eli doing?
Yeah.
And that can't happen. And a good coach wouldn't let that happen.
No. Instead,
they win it.
You want it.
And we don't talk about it.
And that momentum carries into next year. This year was vital.
It actually was.
Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you.
This one will be tough for you guys.
All right.
From the 636, prove me wrong. Monday's matchup of Ravens versus 49ers is a preview of the Super Bowl.
Well, considering my prediction this year was the 49ers and Ravens before the season, allow me by saying how wrong I was, Dan. I was incredibly wrong on this Ravens team. They're losing guys left and right. That prediction included Mark Andrews. That prediction included, maybe not at the time, but over time, their young running back, Keaton Mitchell, being healthy. He's not. This Ravens team's going to fall short. How many Super Bowl appearances does Lamar have, Dan?
Well, the other thing I was going to say is that you didn't realize when you made that prediction the emergence of the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen here down the stretch.
Yeah.
Hottest team in the NFL outside of the 49ers. No one wants to play the Bills, so it won't be a matchup of Super Bowl teams. It's going to be the Bills and the 49ers.
Or the Chiefs.
They start catching balls.
And they will. They turn it on in January.
They always have.
Yeah. So the
Even
Ravens
when Christian Okoye was there, they turn it on.
Yes, they do.
Joe
the
Montana.
Nigerian nightmare. But the Ravens? You kidding me? How many? You got one playoff win for Lamar. One. We've been here before. They used to have the top seed. They had a top seed one year. Team went in there, beat them. No issues. Ravens are going to fall short.
If I may ask, who would you have replacing them?
Well, I would have the Kansas City Chiefs.
You don't believe that.
Yes,
Even
I do.
over the Bills, huh?
Absolutely.
What about the Miami Dolphins?
Bills should have lost to the Chiefs beforehand.
That's true.
Sean
Miami?
McDermott.
Give me Miami.
Okay.
Give me somebody outside of Kansas City.
Right now, everything rolls through South Beach.
Thank you.
And
We're teammates.
You know where Lamar and the Ravens, did they lose last year? They lost last year to the Dolphins, did they?
No.
Did they win
Bills
that? They came
almost
back.
lost to the Dolphins.
Did they come back and beat either way?
Ravens lost to the Bengals.
You need at least 2 wins to get to the Super Bowl. Lamar only has 1 playoff win.
I didn't believe it.
Oh, man.
I didn't believe it either.
You didn't sell me either.
I didn't believe it.
All right, one more.
I'm going to get a dog on my own Ravens 49ers pick.
I didn't believe it for a second. From the 424, prove me wrong. NL Central teams aren't making moves because they don't see the Cards as a threat.
Well, the Cardinals are a threat because they signed Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn. And they're going to have another year of Jordan Walker with Major League talent under his belt. Mason Wynn will be the Rookie of the Year for the St. Louis Cardinals. Lars Nootbaar will play 145 games. Tommy Edman will win his first Gold Glove in center field. Nolan Arenado is the MVP.
Wow.
Goldie gets an extension, and that rides him into the sunset of profitability for the Cardinals in terms of the numbers that he'll put up. I've made my case.
If I may, as well, the Pirates don't try.
Okay, that
at all.
too. Yeah,
the Reds don't try. In fact, to the point where they alienate their own proud fan base. The Cubs decided to dump all their money in a manager, and as we all know, managers aren't impactful unless you're Bruce Bochy. And the Brewers are trying to sell off key pieces like they just did today. So when it comes to these teams and how they operate, I don't think it has anything to do with the Cardinals and being a threat. These other teams, flat out, just don't want to win games.
And they don't care. Us having to make a case. So everybody understands. This is us making a case against the texter.
It's proved me wrong.
It's proved me wrong. Now, do we necessarily believe in everything we say?
Whoa. Hold on there. Can we get a ruling on this before you?
Of course we do.
Thank you. Now go ahead, Dan.
Everything I said.
Case dismissed.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm good now. Making my case.
Okay.
So I felt uncomfortable making that case.
What? Well, you did start off with Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn. Cardinals are wildly better than last year.
You're right. Sonny Gray will win the Cy Young.
Oh, yeah.
You told me to make a case. I made my case.
Hey, you got the ding.
Nice job, Dan.
No ding. Or you got the ding, no buzzer.
Okay.
That was huge. Nice work, guys.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah. Is this Cardinals offense even good? We'll get into that next on 101 ESPN.
Price just went up on car insurance? Check us out at carltoninsurance.net.
This is Tim McKernan for Sound Story. The Christmas holiday fast approaching, and you may be wondering what to get in the last minute. Well, the answer is a gift card at mysoundstory.com with the promo code ESPN. And that promo code gets you 20% off the purchase of a gift card. Perhaps you've heard of Sound Story, a company we started just a couple of years ago. It's a 1-hour interview with whomever. Your mother, your father, grandmother, grandfather, conducted by your choice of one of our Hubbard radio personalities, including Randy Carricker, Anthony Stalter, and myself. You can come in studio and have the interview done, or it can be done over Zoom, and it can be done with your mother, your father, grandmother, grandfather, and making sure that their story is saved forever. And now we have a video option professionally produced in a 3-camera shoot. All you have to do is get the gift card at mysoundstory.com and enter promo code ESPN for 20% off for this Christmas holiday.
ESPN has your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to Monster Jam, returning for 2 huge shows the weekend of Saturday, January 27th and Sunday, January 28th.
This Cardinals offense is even good. Is it even a strength? Dan, I struggle with this one because last year I thought this offense was going to be true strength, even elite, one of the better offenses in the National League. And we spent a lot of time and have spent a lot of time talking about the pitching staff and how much the pitching staff cost this team a year ago, starting and bullpen. The defense we spent some time on. I feel like the offense almost got a pass because the other elements were so bad, it didn't matter after May. But Dan, if you're looking at it, and if we just look at the National League Central, in terms of runs scored, forget every other metric, just how many times did you cross the plate? Where do you think the Cardinals finished in runs scored in the division?
In the division, I would say 4th because they were 19th in Major League Baseball in runs per game.
Dan, you nailed it.
Okay.
4th. I
think it is surprising for a lot of people to hear that.
Absolutely. The only team that you scored more runs against in your own division last year was the Pittsburgh Pirates. Marsh started 62 games for the Pirates last year. And Marsh is a good kid, but I don't think he plays Major League Baseball at an elite level.
Love Marsh.
I do on the controller.
You do, yeah. You get the MLB The Show, you're all over it. Mm-hmm. But here's where I struggle, Dan, because when I look at the names and I see that Paul Goldschmidt had a WRC plus of 122 last year, and Wilson Contreras had a 127. He led the team. When I look at Lars Nootbaar with a 118, that's 18 percentage points higher than average. Average is 100. That's all you need to know. 118 also for Nolan Gorman. 118 for Brendan Donovan. 116 for Jordan Walker in his first big league season, and a 107 for Nolan Arenado. These are all guys that produced higher than average offensively in at least that one key metric. That's most of your lineup. That's most of your starters. So I'm a little conflicted on whether or not to buy into this offense after they didn't produce a year ago but have the elements.
So with the numbers you have in front of you, I don't have them in front of me. I would assume then guys getting on base, don't drive them in. So you're talking about left on base.
Yeah.
You're talking a lot. You're talking a lot. And that was one of the problems.
Army.
Remember how many times they had the bases loaded and didn't score? I mean, you don't come through in those spots, you're not going to win games. I guess, looking at it, they can be better with consistency of an everyday lineup that does include Lars Nootbaar against right-handed pitching. I think that's something that you have to take into account here. And we played 108 games in 22, 118 last year. So Nootbaar penciled in every day against right-handed pitching. The outfield last year was 19th in OPS at 730. Combined 730 OPS. Ain't going to cut it.
No.
Healthy Brendan Donovan certainly would help. Contact guy, gets on base. I like that. Can Nolan Gorman keep his back healthy and stay in the lineup? Will Walker progress to be the player that they anticipate that he's going to be next year with a full major league season under his belt? I would think so. I think there'd be improvement with him. Again, it's the what-if game, but these are guys that they're counting on this year. Donovan's got to be an everyday player. Walker's got to be an everyday contributor. And the other thing is, the big guys, can they contribute as they have done in the past? And we're talking about Arenado and Goldie. Mm-hmm. Can they get to levels that they have been? I'm not saying that Goldie's got to be the MVP like he was a couple seasons ago, but can he get near a level of where he's been in his career with the bat? If he does that, then it's a different looking offense.
Completely. I think you nailed it, though. It is about producing when runners are in scoring position.
Yep.
Do they have enough power? Yeah. They've got enough guys that can hit the ball out of the park. Do they have enough speed? Yes. Do they have enough contact guys? Yes. Can they get on base to a degree? Yes. Are you producing when you have the opportunity to hang a crooked number in a half inning? The answer was no consistently last year. That is the one area where this offense can go from disappointing, failed expectations to what we thought it could be at the start of last year.
I don't know if it's fair, if it's a true judge of the offense, and leaving them men on base is. I mean, they were terrible in that department. But when you fall behind early, you take different at-bats.
True.
And they fell behind so much and so often last year. Your approach at the plate is different. You guys squeezing the bat a little bit tighter, trying to hit a 5-run homer, things of that nature where it just didn't click. And the names are there to where it should be. I don't know if it's elite, but a very good offense.
Yeah.
But falling behind a lot, I think, is part of the storyline with what happened with the offense, too.
Very true. Hey, Dan, if you didn't get your holiday shopping done, got an opportunity for you. Go to 101 ESPN. We got the merch store going on at 101ESPN.com to support Operation Food Search this December. We've partnered with STL Shirt Company to offer a special 101 ESPN online merch store this month. We're talking about 101 t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Plus, we've brought back some of your favorite designs, including the Jamie Rivers and Brad Thompson jerseys, the Dunk shirts, and more. Time is running out, though. Make sure you order your 101 ESPN swag by next Sunday, December 31st, by visiting the 101 online merch store now at 101ESPN.com. It's all powered by McBride Homes.
Did you order yours?
Of course I did.
For the kids?
Yeah.
Be one of their top presents from Santa.
Every single year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh, look, we got another 101 shirt. Thanks, Dad.
What do you mean, Marshy?
I'm just, sounds great.
Hey, are you coming over for Christmas just like Thanksgiving this year?
Am I getting invited?
You're invited.
Let's go.
Festivities start early when Santa arrives.
Go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice job, Marsh. You did it, buddy.
I'll make some cookies for Santa.
Yeah.
I'll leave a glass of milk out for him.
Hey, don't forget about the carrots. The reindeers love them carrots.
They love the carrots.
Yeah.
I
Gotta
never
do
put out
that.
carrots.
No?
No.
Oh, I'm surprised Rudolph didn't stomp your face in. You know? Got to remember the carrots.
Anthony, you have what, 7, 5, and 2? Is it your kids?
Ages, yes. 7, 5, 2.
So, fun time of year for you.
Mm-hmm.
Is Elf on the Shelf part of your family?
He frequents. Today I found him hanging by the chandelier in the front. Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
He gets around the homes and the neighborhoods and then the houses.
It's crazy. Yeah. My wife, Kristen, said, boy, that is a dangerous spot this time around for Elf on the Shelf. And I said, hey, he goes where he wants to go.
Sure he does.
Yep.
No restrictions. Let him do what he's got to do.
Well, he's got to observe whether or not the house is in order. And sometimes he likes to hang by the chandelier.
Hey, the 660 wants to know, Dan, why is the Janet shirt not on the list of potential options to buy?
That's a great question.
Wow.
Marshy, I think that's on you a little bit.
I really wish I didn't take a sip of water
without just something going on.
Well, he holds you to a higher standard.
That's true.
He's going to invite you over for Thanksgiving and Christmas, but you got to make sure that the Janet T-shirt is fully operational by the time we have the 101 ESPN online merch store, and it is not.
Well, in my defense, it's not a throwback shirt. So these are throwbacks.
No,
It's her top 10
It
things.
is 101 ESPN T-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. That's what it says, and more.
I guess I just got to give more to the group here.
That's exactly what we want to hear. So the Janet shirts, something that Marsh is going to work on. starting tonight, and probably is going to work around the clock to make sure that puppy is ready to go. You get on this, Marsh.
Okay.
Gauntlet next on 101 ESPN.
Four categories, one challenger. Can you master the gauntlet?
Brought to you by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit masstour.com.
Well, as promised, we delivered. FedEx Brian is going to do the gauntlet today after Dan basically helped him yesterday.
Yeah, I wanted him to be a part of it. Hello, Brian. How are you?
All right, guys. How are you?
We're doing great, man. Thanks for listening as much as you do. We appreciate it. I'm glad you got into the gauntlet here.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I'm excited, seriously. I wish that Jamie was there because I'd like to have a little bit of revenge, but you know, it is what it is.
Well, here's the thing. If you could get past either Marsh or me today and either Marsh or me tomorrow. Actually, Jamie's going to be back tomorrow, right? So Jamie will be back tomorrow.
No. Well, no. Let me rephrase that. Jamie is
playing tomorrow night.
Yeah. So Jamie's going to be in from 2 to 3, I think, and then I'll hop in and fill in for Jamie 3 to 5.
And then so no Jamie tomorrow then for you, Brian. If you get through Marsh and I the next 2 days, you have Jamie on Friday though. So
Works for me.
All right, you've thought about this. Are you going to take on Marsh or me today?
We'll take on you.
Oh, FedEx Brian. I was kind of expecting it was going to be Marsh.
Well, I'm hoping on hockey all 3 days. So.
Oh, you know you're going to get hockey today. That's a guarantee.
You nailed it yesterday.
I did. That set up. That set up well. I don't want to test fate again, though.
Davis Payne just came right out of you were ready to go.
And the Winnipeg Jets.
Yes, that's the other one.
Yeah,
that was impressive. I didn't even know that one.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. I've got my brain usually doesn't work like at all, but for some reason with stadiums it works pretty well. Go figure. Anyways, good luck, Brian.
We'll see you in a little bit.
All right, Brian, you know the drill. And for those that do not know how the Gauntlet works, you get 4 questions. If you get the question correct without using the options, you get 2 points. If you have to use the options and you get it correct, you get 1 point. And if you do not get it right at all, you get 0 points. Are you ready? You got to tell me to spin the wheel first.
Let it rip, Marsh.
All right, so you mentioned you want hockey. After knowing that Anthony is the hockey guy on this show, are you still wanting hockey? What's your second option for a category?
Well, if I'm going to beat Stalter, let's have football.
Well, it's hockey.
Game of hockey. Unbelievable. That's funny.
You cannot make this up. All right, I'm going to give Dan the launch codes.
Thank you, Marshy.
Are you ready, Brian? FedEx Brian,
Absolutely.
That is.
Absolutely.
All right, question number 1. The Blues have shut out 2 teams this season. They shut out the Lightning 5-0. Not last night's game. Which team did they beat 3-0?
Oh. Who was that? Benner's got one shutout. Hofer's got the other. And the Lightning was one shutout. Give me the options.
Options are the New Jersey Devils, the Montreal Canadiens, or the Calgary Flames. You want the options one more time?
Uh-oh.
Are you still with us, Brian?
I am. Are you there?
Yes. Do you want the options one more time?
Yes, please.
All right. It's the New Jersey Devils, the Montreal Canadiens, or the Calgary Flames.
I think it was the Devils.
Final answer?
Final answer, yeah.
Question 2, the head coach of the New Jersey Devils, Lindy Ruff, recently moved into 4th place on the all-time wins list. With which team has Ruff won the most games as a head coach in his career?
Good night, Grant.
Would you like the options, sir?
Yeah, please.
The Dallas Stars, the Buffalo Sabres, the Minnesota Wild. Now, come on, Brian. 15-minute segment.
Okay. It was Buffalo, Dallas, or
Minnesota.
Who? Let's go with Buffalo. No, let's Minnesota. Minnesota.
Question 3, please.
Is that your final answer, Brian?
Yes, final answer.
All right, question number 3. Which team is the only Western Conference team the Blues have not played against so far this season?
Have not played against. Western Conference. They have not played. Nashville, Chicago, Calgary. Options, please.
Options are the Edmonton Oilers, the Anaheim Ducks, or the Seattle Kraken.
And Edmonton was the team that I was thinking of, so Edmonton Oilers.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Okay, question 4. In the first round of the 2014 playoffs against the Blackhawks, Game 1 of that series went to triple overtime, becoming the longest game in Blues history. Who scored the game-winning goal for the Blues in that game?
Oh, my God. Options.
Alexander Steen, Barrett Jackman, David Backes.
That was Barrett Jackman. Barrett Jackman. Final answer.
Okay.
All right, let's bring Anthony back in. How you feeling about that one, FedEx Brian?
I think that Grant picked some miserable questions.
These were tough questions. We'll see if the hockey guy can get the hockey questions correct today.
Are you serious?
I'm being dead serious.
Dan,
he's serious.
That's incredible.
Hockey, what did I tell you? Every time I'm in here, I've been in here countless times with you, and it seems like every time, if they pick you, you get hockey. And you come out a plum. You do just a terrific job on hockey. More so, I'd consider you an expert.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate you building me up.
Yep.
I'm definitely going to need it. All right, let's go.
Anthony, pack a lunch. Question number 1.
Davis Payne.
Joe Morgan.
Joe Morgan.
All right, question number 1. The Blues have shut out 2 teams this season. They shut out the Lightning 5-0. Which team did they beat 3-0?
I don't remember this at all. I don't remember them shutting out anybody but the Lightning. Can I have the options, please?
Options are the New Jersey Devils, the Montreal Canadiens, or the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, it wasn't the Devils. I don't remember them playing the Canadiens. No, they lost. Didn't they lose to the Canadiens? I think they lost to the Canadiens. I'm going to go Flames. I think it was the Flames. Final answer.
The head coach of the New Jersey Devils, Lindy Ruff, recently moved into 4th place on the all-time wins list. With which team has Ruff won the most games as a head coach in his career?
Wasn't he with the Stars? Stars and Sabres? I'll take the options.
The Dallas Stars,
Son of
the Buffalo Sabres, or the Minnesota Wild?
Oh. I'll go Stars. That was my first thought.
Final answer?
It's either the Stars or the Sabres. I'll go Stars. Final answer.
Question 3, please.
Question number 3. Which team is the only Western Conference team the Blues have not played against so far this season?
Only Western Conference team?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Well, we all know it's not the Coyotes. They played the Predators, played the Coyotes. They played the Avalanche a couple of times. They played Stars. They played the Sharks. They've played Vancouver. I'll take the options just to something will jog me here.
Options are the Edmonton Oilers, the Anaheim Ducks, or the Seattle Kraken.
They played the Kraken early on. I think it's the Oilers. Oilers, final answer.
Question 4. In the first round of the 2014 playoffs against the Blackhawks, Game 1 of that series went to triple OT, becoming the longest game in Blues history. Who scored the game-winning goal for the Blues in that game?
In 2014?
That's correct.
I'll take the options, please.
Alexander Steen, Barrett Jackman, David Backes.
Wow. Steen, Backes, or
Jackman.
Jacks. Who I talked to the other day.
How's he doing?
Very good.
Good. Just saw him getting inducted in the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, if I see him again, I'll congratulate him. I don't think it was Jax. The obvious answer would be Backus. So do I go with the outlier in Jax, the obvious in Backus, or the third choice, Steen? I'm going to eliminate the obvious one. I'm going to eliminate Backus. Is it Jax or Steen?
It's turned into a long gauntlet.
I don't remember Jax. I'm going to go Steen. Steen, final answer. That was tough, FedEx Brian. Holy smokes.
All right, let's go over these questions.
Good gravy.
Let's start with question number 3. Which team is the only Western Conference team the Blues have not played against so far this season? You both said the Edmonton Oilers. Correct answer is
the Edmonton Oilers.
But none of you needed the options. Just kidding. No, you both needed the options.
Wow.
Both
That was a roller coaster.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure
so
was.
1-1 tie?
1-1 tie.
All right, nice job, FedEx Brian. We got on the board at least.
Question number 2. The head coach of the New Jersey Devils, Lindy Ruff, recently moved into 4th place on the all-time wins list. With which team has Ruff won the most games as a head coach in his career? You both took the options. Both had different answers. FedEx Brian said the Minnesota Wild. Anthony, you said the Dallas Stars. Correct answer is
the Buffalo Sabres.
He coached Buffalo for 15 years.
Anthony, it's not that big a deal. Quit throwing things. You're going to be all right.
Keep going.
I didn't think that the Sabres won a lot. That was my line of thinking there.
He was there for forever. I remembered that. I and then changed.
Let's go to question number 1. The Blues have shut out 2 teams this season. They shut out the Lightning 5-0. Which team did they beat 3-0? You guys both took the options on this one. Again, have different answers. FedEx Brian said the New Jersey Devils. Anthony, you said the Calgary Flames. Correct answer is
the Calgary Flames.
So Anthony has a 2-1 lead heading into the final question.
Anthony. Thanks, Dan.
In the first round of the 2014 playoffs against the Blackhawks, Game 1 of that series went to triple overtime, becoming the longest game in Blues history. Who scored the game-winning goal for the Blues in that game? You both took the options. You both, once again, have different answers. FedEx Brian, you said Barrett Jackman. Anthony, you said Alexander Steen. If it is Alexander Steen or David Backus, Anthony is our winner today. If it is Barrett Jackman, we have a walk-off.
So I have the 2 goal scorers. FedEx Brian, though, has the outlier, which typically works.
The correct answer is
Alexander Steen.
Brian.
You have chosen poorly.
You lose. Not today.
That was a tough one. Barrett Jackman did score a game-winning goal in that same series. It was Game 2 after Vladimir Tarasenko tied the game up late.
Do you remember those? Do you guys remember that? Oh, yeah,
and
no issue for you guys.
David Backus, I believe, assisted on the Alexander Steen goal.
Wow. You remember that? Or you're like,
I remember where I was when I watched that game.
Well, la-di-da, FedEx Brian. I guess got a couple of NHL geniuses here that I'm working with.
I remember throwing the TV out the window when Yzerman scored, so.
There you go.
Right over the shoulder of one John Casey. I remember it, too. Not happy. Not happy at all.
Brian, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, guys. Keep it up. Have a Merry Christmas. And to everybody else that's a listener and texter, Merry Christmas to you guys.
Well done, Brian. Thanks,
Brian.
Merry Christmas to you, too. All right, thanks. It's
Very
FedEx
nice.
Brian. Absolutely. Incredibly nice. That was a long gauntlet. He must have taken some time, too.
He took some time. Yeah.
Some tough questions.
That was tough. Well, maybe not for you guys. You remember the Steen goal? Mm-hmm. Old Steener?
Yeah, I think Backus had the puck right in front of the crease and then dropped it back, and then Steen came in and scored.
No kidding.
And then Jackman in Game 2, I think, shot it from the left wall.
Wow, look at
the
Marshy here.
And scored.
What about Odd? Wasn't Odd in there? Thought he set him up.
No, Ott came in the same deal as what's his face?
He came. No, that was the same year.
It was the same year?
I think so. With Ryan Miller.
Yeah, with Ryan Miller. That was 14?
That was 2014.
I thought he set him up, but I could be wrong.
The Blues
we'll have to go
ended
back and
up
look.
blowing that series at a 2-0 lead.
That's
in
when
the series.
what's his face had the breakaway against Miller.
They lost in Game 6.
I was there.
Were you really?
Yes, I was. Me, Kristen, and Nick Wagner, who covers the 49ers, used to cover the Rams. We all went together, 3 of us there, and perfect look as the puck got away, center ice. Who was it, Kane or Taves? Is that Kane?
Taves scored on
Taves.
Yeah.
Like the whole play. I mean, everybody remembers that. Everybody that was there. That when that puck got away from got away from the Blues and went to center ice and Taves picked up, you're like, okay, we can start walking out now.
By the way, it was Steve Ott who assisted on the steam
There you
goal.
go. Look at you, Dan.
I remember weird things.
I must have been thinking of a different game.
There you go. All right.
By the way, can I give a quick thing here? Jim Bowden says, the latest I'm hearing about Yamamoto, favorites to land him, Dodgers, Yankees.
Well,
Expected highest bidders would be the Mets or Giants. Backburner teams, Red Sox, Phillies, Blue Jays. Nothing on your St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, we're the Cardinals in that mix.
They're not.
Are they in a special category?
I was thinking maybe they ran out of characters.
Like sneaky backburners?
I think they just ran out of
like
characters.
Way backburners? No, nothing?
I don't know. I don't know if they'd be way back burners or even just on the radar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man.
Not in the same hemisphere?
No, I don't
category?
think so.
Okay.
You never know.
10 minutes, we'll talk to JR, but we got what's trending coming up next.
the world of sports, the Fast Lane has you covered. What's trending now?
Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate to Goodwill to win a magical Polar Express staycation.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Anthony Stalter, Dan McLaughlin, I'm Andrew Marsh, and it's time for What's Trending. By the way, Anthony, you left the room, but Steve Ott did assist on that Alexander Steen goal, and David Backus as well, so we were all correct.
Awesome.
He had the secondary assist.
Nice job, guys.
There you go.
Well
Way
done.
to go.
Well done. You being a hockey guy, you knew that.
I did. Sometimes, Dan, I just need a reminder.
Yeah. Just a little refresher.
Absolutely.
No big deal at all.
No.
Guys, Adam Wainwright tweeted out earlier today that the song he wrote for the Cardinal fans, Time to Fly, is out and available wherever you buy your music. So whether that's Spotify, Apple Music, it's on YouTube. His song, Time to Fly, is now available for your ear holes.
Okay, that's nice.
Question 2, please.
The Los Angeles Chargers.
And just in time for the holidays. That's fantastic.
The Los Angeles Chargers are interested
What's trending
in...
too, please? What's trending as well?
I'm just moving right along. Good luck to Adam and his CD or song.
His mixtape.
Mixtape, whatever.
Did you guys ever make mixtapes for loved ones?
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Back in the day?
90s.
Were you a boombox guy?
Yeah, you had to wait until the song came on the radio and time it up perfectly and hope the DJ wasn't talking all over it. Yeah. Yeah, it was a thing.
And now it's time for Dave Matthews Band. This one goes out to Anthony Stalter.
Nope. And the first pitch is Time to Fly.
Anyways, the Los Angeles Chargers are interested in hiring Jim Harbaugh per the Schultz report, who...
Now, this makes sense to me.
That's Jordan Schultz. Works for Bleacher Report, NFL Insider.
West Coast.
You know what? Here's a guy in Jim Harbaugh that interviewed. People forget he interviewed with the Vikings last year.
Yes.
And he's been flirting with the NFL. I would think, especially if he wins a national championship, he went back home. He did it. He won the national championship, returned Michigan to their glory. But also
endured a bunch of crap from the NCAA.
He did.
Ohio State.
But I think they're going to offer him like $11 million per to stay. That's what I read today.
And he's not getting $11 million from Dean Spanos. There's no way.
No.
So,
but I think though if he wants to jump, he goes back to one of the teams that he's been at before. San Francisco, ain't going to happen.
No.
Chicago could open up with Eberflus.
Yeah.
San Diego played there.
LA, yeah.
LA, all right, Chargers,
yeah.
I should say.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good call. Colts would not be available, but he played there.
The Bears.
The Bears.
To me, that's a no-brainer.
I could see him going back to the Bears.
Especially if they get the first overall pick.
That's a cheap-ass organization, though.
Well, if they get the first pick, which is most likely going to happen, they could get Caleb Williams. You have Jim Harbaugh, who works well with quarterbacks.
Yeah. But again, I mean, if Michigan's paying you $11 million, the Bears are not going to buy out Eberflus and then pay Harbaugh anywhere close to that.
If you're Michigan, do you say, though, you know what? We've been through so much with Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, we're going to put a very competitive offer on the table, but if he's flirting with the NFL and you know his agent's probably floating it out there behind closed doors, we're good.
No.
We've had enough.
No. I think you
pony up and pay him.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm in your camp. I'm just wondering if that's part of the collective thought process that goes into your board of curators, your AD, your president.
Sure.
All that stuff.
I think there would at least be one person in that room, Dan. It's an interesting question. I think there would be one person in that room that said, what is our record against Ohio State when Harbaugh is here?
Yeah, that's
what
a good
is
point.
Our record against Ohio State when we had Rich Rod and we had
I always think of Rich Rod.
I keep wanting to say Barry Odom. Who's the
guy that came from San Diego State?
Yes, Brady. What's his name?
Then I want to say Brady
something.
Cook. Brady Hoke.
Brady Hoke. Thank you.
Wow.
Nice shot, Brady Hoke.
What a time that was.
Yeah, not great.
He wasn't the coach when they lost to Appalachian State, was he?
No, that was Lloyd Carr, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were at that game.
I was at that game. Yes. I was sitting with App State fans. Just happened to have the tickets in that section.
How in the world did that happen?
Well, apparently someone Michigan was rated, I think they're ranked 5th in the nation.
They were top 10. I remember that.
Apparently some of the players did not take that game too seriously the night before.
That happens.
Is the rumor. Some of their top players.
But still, you got to beat App State.
You would think. They had some dudes.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, you got to beat App State. All
App
right.
State played in a bowl game this past week.
App State has turned into a really good program.
My friends were telling me all about it.
Yeah. They played the Max Miami of Ohio.
They did.
Redhawks.
They did.
In a monsoon.
I think there were either 13 or 14, seriously, 13 or 14 fumbles in that game. It was Saturday in Orlando, I believe. And then when they would hit the paint of the like the logos and stuff, everything was guys are slipping and sliding, couldn't hold on to the ball.
It's a fun ball game.
It was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
My friends told me.
You didn't have to play.
No, I didn't. I was on my couch watching.
All right, Jeremy Rutherford's next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues lost last night to the Tampa Bay Lightning by a final score of 6-1. They'll take on the Florida Panthers tomorrow. Pregame starts at 5 o'clock. Puck drop is at 6, and you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. We are going to be joined next by Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider from The Athletic. He is joining us next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
News, notes, and nuggets. It's time for the Rutherford Report with our Blues insider, Jeremy Rutherford. Brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN with Dan McLaughlin. I'm Anthony Stalter. Let's go to our 101 ESPN Celebrity Line. We're joined by our guy, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. JR, tough one last night against the Lightning. Drew Bannister's interim perfect record now over with. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it really was. That, when they made the coaching change, some people understood, that maybe some things Craig Berube was doing wrong that maybe deserve some attention in terms of what could a new coach come in here and do. I think Drew Bannister is going to do some good things, and I think that we saw that in the first couple of games, Anthony and Dan, but I also think that the Blues don't have a great team, and they do have some areas where they need to improve the roster for sure, and they need to be more consistent, as we've been saying all season. So not a surprise that this was going to happen at some point. It came in the third game with Bannister on board here. So still some issues that need to be addressed.
JR, I realize that time will tell and what happens with a head coach, and a lot of it is dependent on what happens on the ice and wins and losses. But are you hearing anything out there in terms of the Blues being aggressive or looking at some of the folks that are out there, including the guy they got behind the bench, Drew Bannister?
Yeah, not just yet. That Doug Armstrong, he said it, and he always says it whenever he begins a coaching search. He says we're not going to have any updates on this, and it's going to be wide-ranging. So obviously his wealth of knowledge and the people that he knows in the hockey community is pretty widespread, and so he's going to start to make those phone calls, and I'm sure he's already got that list together. I think I remember a couple coaches ago where he said, oh, yeah, that list is kind of put together well before you get to the point where you're looking for a coach. So he'll have some people in mind. I think the big key here, Dan, is where are they going to find somebody who can both address the need for winning now during the retool, which is what Doug Armstrong has said he wants to do, be competitive, but yet also groom these young players for the future, and especially the new ones coming in. And Craig Berube said it in my article at The Athletic. He said it with BK and Ferrario the other day, that it's a challenge to be able to adhere to both of those things, try to win now and build for the future. So they're going to have to find somebody, I think, with experience, but also a guy who can relate to the young guys these days.
All right, so a lot of people, since we're on the subject, a lot of Blues fans will say, well, what about Joel Quenneville? So what are the obstacles? What's the obstacle when it comes to even talking to Joel Quenneville? And do you think that could be a realistic option for Doug Armstrong?
Yes, I do think that it's a fair question. It's a realistic option. I wouldn't rule something like that out. First of all, the obstacle is that he needs to get reinstated by the league for his involvement in that situation in Chicago. Situation, and it seems like you use the term lightly, but right. With the Kyle Beach situation. So they need to first get approval, anybody who tries to hire Joel Quenneville to be their head coach, for him to be reinstated into the league. Would he make sense for the St. Louis Blues? Obviously, he's got a long history here, one of the most winningest coaches in Blues history. The fans liked him, the fan base liked him. Would he be welcome here in St. Louis more so than perhaps other stops in the league? I think that would be the case. Yes, I'm sure there would be some fans that would be looking at the move, maybe desperation, or especially because of what happened with Quenneville in Chicago. They wouldn't be in favor of it, but you can't argue that this is one of the best coaches in the history of the game. So from that standpoint, it would be good. But I go back to my previous comment. where does Joel Quenneville fit in terms of trying to win now and during a retool, yet bring along the young players? I mean, he's had his success with veteran players, and that's not to say that he can't coach up young players, but the Blues are going through this period where things are going to be a little bit different. So is Quenneville the best fit? Is it a guy like Bannister? Those are the things that Doug Armstrong's weighing right now.
JR, the club is now 6-10-1 on the road. That's 27th in the league. In their last 5 road losses, they've been outscored 13-2 in the first period. So obviously not getting off to good starts. Do you see that this is a personnel issue, and it's tougher to play on the road than it is at home, it seems like, and it shows itself in records. But do you look at it as a philosophy thing going on here, as how they start games, or just, hey, this team is just outmanned in this season?
Yeah, Dan, no, good numbers there. I'd break it down to 2 parts. I say that under Craig Berube, for whatever reason, they just couldn't get the starts. And Craig Berube analyzed it himself. He said it feels like players are trying to feel out the game. What's it going to be like? How do I need to respond? How do I need to get into this game? And it just took them too long to get into the game, and then they're trying to come from behind second period. I think that Doug Armstrong and both Drew Bannister came in after the coaching change and said that we need to get out to better starts earlier. We need to recognize this. And I think they did that in those first 2 games, the 2 wins. Now, maybe not the second game against Dallas, but they stuck with it. They found their game in the second period. That's what they haven't done all year. That's what they need to do. Last night, I think, was a little bit different. I mean, you have that tough break on the Binnington goal off his paddle. Pops out, they score. Then you get another goal that's going off a guy's glove, and you're challenging that. And I just think that they found themselves behind, and then all of a sudden Nikita Kucherov is kind of doing his thing. So, I don't know that I put last night's loss with some of the other slow starts where the Blues haven't played well on the road. So something that definitely needs to be addressed, but I think a little bit different situation last night.
Jeremy Rutherford of The Athletic joining us right now on the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Jeremy, I'm going to ask you a question that is better suited for Doug Armstrong, but I respect your opinion, and you're around the club. What do you think Army's looking for stylistically or philosophy-wise in his next head coach?
Well, I think it's going to be somebody who maybe not necessarily the Craig Berube mold in terms of style of play, where you're looking, everybody wants to refer back to 2019 or, big lineup who can bang, forecheck, 4 lines, all that stuff. I think whether he wants to or not, he's probably going to have to go in the direction of letting these offensive guys be creative. And the reason I say that is because in interviews with Robert Thomas and especially Jordan Kyrou last week, he said, we got a situation now in Drew where he's going to let us come in and let us play. And that's not to say that he's not going to have a thumb on them and want them to be defensively responsible. But I think it's just the way the NHL is. These young players coming up, they have so much skill. And yes, you need to have you need to have their attention in terms of playing the game overall, but they need to let loose, be creative, and let those instincts take over. And I think that when Doug Armstrong goes out and he looks for the right coach, he's going to have to find, like he said last year, guys, you got to be able to relate to these young kids. Things have changed. Doug Armstrong doesn't necessarily understand them. He did some homework over the offseason to try to better understand these young players. And every vibe I get from them is that they want to go out and play that type of creative game. And I think they're going to have to find a coach that fits that.
JR, good stuff. We appreciate you. If we don't get a chance to talk to you, man, happy holidays to you and your family. Have a great week.
Yeah, for sure. Both your families, too. Have a good one. Hopefully the kids have a good one, and we'll talk to you next week about some more Blues hockey.
Thanks, buddy.
Got it.
See ya.
All right. Yep.
That's Jeremy Rutherford, our Blues insider with The Athletic at JP Rutherford. It's going to be interesting to see.
You asked a great question. What are you looking for?
Sure. And it's not fair to ask JR, but JR would have at least a sense of that.
I think, though, you sit there and you look at the team and it's a complicated answer in this that you're shorthanded this year.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have coming and that you feel is NHL quality players? Who are they and when do they arrive?
Yeah.
And then at that point, do I feel like, okay, I've got X amount of dollars coming off the books. I can supplement this area or that area. And then who's the best fit at that time as I project what my roster may look like?
Absolutely.
It's not an easy thing to do.
Not one bit. That's Dan McLaughlin. I'm Anthony Stalter. It's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. The Cardinals do have this offseason an opportunity still to take the sledgehammer to the fly. I'll explain why next on 101 ESPN.
You're starting to panic a little bit now, aren't you? You're thinking there is no way, no how you are going to find the perfect gift before Christmas because it is getting late. But listen up, my friends over at Diamonds Direct, they are here to help you out because there's no gift that's more beautiful, more versatile, more meaningful than a beautiful piece of jewelry. And they have got them all over at Diamonds Direct. I'm talking about rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets, colored gemstones for every taste in every single price range, fellas, and you don't want to miss out on their amazing collection of Swiss timepieces. Like I said, they have got it all, and if you need a little bit more inspiration, go online. Go to diamondsdirect.com. That's where you can check out their online gift guide. You can even chat with a virtual assistant on the website. Again, that's diamondsdirect.com. But here's what I suggest. Get into their showroom. Talk to the experts over at Diamonds Direct. You are going to be amazed. It's like shopping 30 different jewelry stores all at once, and I promise you, fellas, you will not feel overwhelmed. Get the perfect gift this holiday season at Diamonds Direct. At Olive and 270 at City Place, it's Diamonds Direct.
Dan, you've been talking a lot about the Cardinals bullpen and options that they still have in free agency. I was looking at a remaining free agent list at The Athletic this morning and came across two names. After you get past the Yamamoto and Jordan Montgomery and Cody Bellinger and Blake Snell, all the guys the Cardinals are not going to pony up the sign. Basically, after you get after those guys. I saw two guys that were interesting. One you've brought up before, and one we've discussed before. Would you like to see, forget whether or not the Cardinals would do it, just would you, Dan McLaughlin, like to see the Cardinals take the sledgehammer to the fly and sign both Josh Hader and Jordan Hicks, throw them in the pen?
Oh, I'd love it.
And get after it.
Yeah, I'd love it. I mean, I talk about it a lot. They had a 56% save percentage. In high leverage situations, the ERA with the Cardinals was over 10 a year ago. Mentioned it earlier, the swing and miss rate wasn't near where it needs to be. Jordan Hicks, as hard as he throws, sinker he's got, I would expect more swing and miss, but I know what I'm getting. He's a reliable guy. If I need him in the back end of games, I could go to him.
Yep.
And Josh Hader is elite. He had 33 saves a year ago, 1.28 ERA. I love the guy. I mean, I feel like if I turn the game over to him, I'm going to win. So when you look at what they have, Gallegos, they're hoping for a bounce back. It wasn't terrible, but I mean, a bounce back to where he was a couple of years ago. You know what you're going to get in Helsley. He's going to shut the door more times than not. And then add another high-quality back-end guy if you can do it or want to do it. Yeah, I think you're all of a sudden you're talking. I mean, this to me was, and I bring this up to you, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but before the World Series, there were 36 games played. Only 6 times did a starter work 7 innings. You need a bullpen.
Yeah.
You got to have guys at the back end that can shut the game down and call it a night. And at this point, I think they have a guy in Ryan Helsley, but how often is he going to pitch? 1 every 3, 2 out of every 4, maybe 3 out of 5. So you better figure out guys that can go to the back end of that pen.
Maybe this isn't fair, but as we sit here on December 20th, and there is plenty of time. You said 100 days until spring training?
100 days until opening day.
Oh, until opening day.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Even if we sit here with plenty of time left, I get the sense, and I hope I'm wrong, but I get the sense the Cardinals feel as though the bullpen's okay. And I'm not saying some of these guys don't have upside, but there's a difference between having guys with some upside that you're tantalized by and whether or not they can get the job done. And we have seen this before with the Cardinals. Starting rotations, like, I like what we have. We like what we have. And the rest of us are looking at it like, boy, it seems thin. And then it proves out to be what? Thin. I think they're about to make the same mistake with this bullpen.
I think they're still looking. I do. I mean, when you bring in a couple guys to Busch Stadium last week, you're still looking. That lefty that they brought in could have been a difference maker. We'll find out. I mean,
who signed with the Padres?
Yeah, I haven't seen him pitch in the major leagues, but his numbers and how they feel projects to Major League Baseball would have been very good. So I don't think they're done. I think they know they've got maybe issues with guys that are a little longer in the tooth in terms of going deeper into games, even though they're innings eaters. I think there's going to be times they're going to need to make sure to get through a full season. Hey, let's back off this guy a little bit.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes. And you'd have to rely on your bullpen. Maybe a swing man of some sort. Maybe they have that in their in-house with Zach Thompson, Matthew Liberatore, 2 guys that maybe take a jump that they're looking at next year. But I just don't think you can go in saying, boy, we hope. I mean, you need to hedge your bets a little bit, and that means going out and spending some money in the relief market.
Yeah, if they don't, I'm going to hold you personally responsible.
I would too.
Because you just keep saying that you think that they're going to do more. I'm sitting here saying...
You want it done.
I want it done. I don't care who they're bringing in for a visit. Let's get this thing done. Your pitching staff isn't good enough.
Isn't it interesting, though, across the board in Major League Baseball, there just hasn't been... I mean, they've had a few big signings. There's a lot of guys left out there.
Oh, there's a ton, Dan. I mean
it's unbelievable how many players have not signed.
You're absolutely right. I was looking at the list. Like I said, I was looking at this list, and as I'm scrolling, you're talking about 10 guys that are difference makers. Well, before you get into the guys that could really help your ball club, I'm talking about like 10 significant players that are still available.
Yeah.
Cody Bellinger, Blake Snell, Yamamoto, Josh Hader, Montgomery. I'm missing somebody, but I completely agree. It's weird that things started off with a bang. You had Nola signing. You had Shohei signing. There's another. Who's another big-time free agent? Either way, there's plenty of guys that are still available.
Yeah.
Here's the list. Okay, I'll give it to you. Shohei, Nolan, Aaron Nola are the top two guys. Then you got Yamamoto, Bellinger, and Snell. So 3 out of the top 5 guys that the Athletic put together for the remaining free agents are still available. Then you've got Montgomery, Sonny Gray, Matt Chapman, I forgot. Eduardo Rodriguez, and Josh Hader. Marcus Stroman is still available. Imanyaga is still available. Rhys Hoskins is an interesting bat after he didn't play last year because he got hurt in spring training. Lucas Giolito, Jorge Soler is available, and Teoscar Hernandez would round out the top 20 of guys that could be available.
Do you have more on that list?
Mitch Garver.
Where is Phil Maton?
Phil Maton.
He had 74 strikeouts in 66 innings last year, and I think there's mutual interest for both, and a guy that could fit into that bullpen.
Not a list, not on the top 40.
Okay.
I'll tell you the other guys that are available in this top 40. Mitch Garver, Jordan Hicks, J.D. Martinez, Clayton Kershaw, Justin Turner, Robert Stevenson, Brandon Belt, Mike Clevenger, Kevin Kiermaier, old buddy Tommy Pham. Tim Anderson's kind of interesting, not for the Cardinals, but see if he can
bounce back.
Yeah, bounce back. Aroldis Chapman is at 35. Hyun-Jin Ryu is 36. Whit Merrifield is 39. And Michael Lorenzen is 40.
Robert Stevenson intrigues me. 77 strikeouts in 52 and a third. And anytime Aroldis Chapman is on the mound, I'm intrigued. Had kind of a lack of control last year, but still struck out over 100 in under 60 innings.
2 years ago, the Yankees basically told him to go home.
Right.
And then he rebounded with the Royals and then got traded, went to the Rangers, got himself another ring.
Yeah. He's intriguing.
There's plenty of guys out there that fall into that 1 year category that I think would be interesting.
I wish that they would have got Chris Stratton, brought him back.
I think they wanted to. That was my understanding, is that they wanted to bring him back, who's a reliable guy.
Yeah.
Call him on, call on him.
Arm.
Yeah, exactly. Call on him any game, any night, any situation.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to take the ball. And that they did have interest, and it just didn't work out.
The Royals, I thought, played all this very well. I thought they played it well last year with Chapman, and they learned from it. They benefited from it, and then they signed 3 guys in Stratton, Walker, and then there was another guy that they signed recently that they could easily flip at the deadline for prospects.
They have spent in the top 5, I think, of free agency money this year.
That's
going to change. I mean, that's open for debate. It's going to change a lot, I would assume, when you look at the Cubs having not done what they've done and some of the other teams that you would anticipate spending money. So that's going to change as we go.
Hunter Renfroe.
There you go. That's the other one.
Thinking of.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think they've done very well.
Yeah.
All things considered.
And like you said, you're not expected to win. The AL Central should be down a little bit this year.
Yeah.
And you just want to be competitive and then maybe flip guys.
Exactly. I'm not even talking about like they did well to win. They did well to improve their prospect pool by trading these guys.
Sure.
We were mentioning the back half of the bullpen.
Yeah.
We got a text from the 314. Sounds like a great way to finish out the last 3 innings of a game when you're losing 6-2.
Oh, you stop that. Sports Six Pack is next. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get a question for us. Send it in. Sports Six Pack next. Hit the Missouri Athletic Club earlier today. Got my workout in. Went to the business center. Got ready to go into work today. I just love talking to the people. Love talking to the club members. You can network through the Missouri Athletic Club. Various different people that do different things. Whether you're looking for contractor, salesperson, a lawyer even, and who couldn't use a good lawyer, right, Marsh? I mean, come on with that. Missouri Athletic Club, great spot, networking, great events. Whether it's the West Clubhouse or the downtown spot, personal training, various clubs within the clubs. I walked around and saw a lot of the kids that were on winter break were playing basketball, and they have different clubs. They had a rock wall climbing thing that a lot of the kids were doing. Great spot. It's my MAC. It's Missouri Athletic Club.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is now.
That's right. Time for the Sports Six-Pack. Still time to get in a question. 314-399-9646. That's your Comfort Service text line. It's 5:05, Dan. 5:05. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. That's not the first question. Go ahead, Dan.
Question one, please.
Question number one.
All right, guys. I have a scenario that I want to throw out to you. Want your opinion on this. I'm playing MLB The Show the other night.
Here we go.
I have a perfect game going into the 8th inning. 2 outs, 8th inning. It's a 1-0 game.
Uh-huh.
The other player drops down a bunt for a base hit.
Yeah.
Is that Bush League?
No.
Or is that just trying to win the game?
Field your position, Marsh. Field your position. They're giving you an out. They're bunting. They're laying down. They're giving you an out. You pick that thing up, you throw it over to first base, and you keep that perfect game intact.
Now, baseball purist Marshy would say you do not do that. I somewhat am a baseball purist. However, if you're bunting for a hit, you're down by a run.
It was a 1-0 game, so
idea is to score.
Yeah. 1-0. I mean, if it's 9-0,
right,
different story.
People would go
1-0,
nuts if you did it in. I mean, it's been done where guys have tried to drop down a bunt during a no-hitter, and all of a sudden the hit may not come with him at the plate, but somebody else gets a hit, and next time the guy that tried to drop down the bunt gets one in the backside.
Yeah, right in the neck.
Yeah, no, not quite the neck, but
that's where I'm throwing it.
Well, you're going neck. You're going above the shoulders.
Sometimes you got to do that, send a message.
Yeah.
I do think the score matters. In all seriousness, the
Yes,
score
it does.
matters. If it's 1-0, that other team is still trying to win the game.
I agree. Now, I was pissed off because my perfect game was broken up.
Marsh, you're trying to win.
I understand that. I understand that.
8-0, you drop down a bunt, that's neck time.
And Dan, you mentioned perhaps the next batter or next game, whatever, guys getting hit. Now, that doesn't do anything for me in a video game. But hitting a 2-run home run the next half inning does. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, my.
So there we go.
Nice job, Marsh. Way to go. Way to lead us off here.
Question 2, please.
Question number 2.
This one comes from Swan. Is Joe Brady going to be a head coach for some NFL team next season?
No, not next season. He's got to put together a full season as an OC. I mean, let's not forget he was fired. I don't know why he was fired, but he's
give the
fired
background
in
of where he's
Carolina.
at and what's he doing.
Sorry. So Joe Brady is the current offensive coordinator for the Bills. If you remember Ken Dorsey, former Miami quarterback, he was with the 49ers for a little bit. He's a backup quarterback for a little while in the NFL. He was the offensive coordinator for the Bills. They fired him about a month ago, replaced him with Joe Brady. Joe Brady was one of the co-offensive coordinators for LSU the year that they won the national championship with Joe Burrow, that historic LSU team. He was the passing game coordinator for LSU. He was hired by Matt Rule to be the Panthers offensive coordinator the year after LSU won their national title. He made it halfway, maybe 3/4 of the way through his first year and was fired by Matt Rule in Carolina. Resurfaced as the QB coach for the Bills and now is the OC for Buffalo. He has yet to have a full season in the NFL as an offensive coordinator. I don't think any team should be interested in him as of right now.
Let me throw this at you, though.
2 years from now, maybe.
They're 3-1 since he took over.
Yeah.
They're averaging slightly above 30 points a game. If Buffalo goes on a run, and let's say they get to a Super Bowl, which they could. I mean, the way they're playing, the way the AFC is set up, I mean, it could happen. Crazier things have happened. His stock skyrockets, and then all of a sudden teams say, you know what, this guy, we got to get him while we can.
You know, if the Rams didn't get Sean McVay when
That's
they did.
my point.
I mean, McVay was not a hot candidate. Everybody thought he was not ready. Just like I'm saying now about Joe Brady. He was not ready and all that, and they were a little bit out of the game, and look what happened for them. So that's a great point, Dan.
Could happen.
The guy I would hire, if he's the coordinator that I would hire right now. So like if Mike Tomlin is let go by Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick, those guys established, those would be at the top of the list. I'm talking about a coordinator that I would hire tomorrow is Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for the Vikings.
Oh, I hope not.
I would get the job that he has
How
done.
they have stayed in games is incredible.
Dan, Marsh.
Selfishly, I hope he doesn't leave.
Marsh, I don't have to tell you this. You watched that Vikings defense a year ago. Largely the same personnel, and Brian Flores has turned that around in a blink. Got a raw deal in Miami. You know, there's a lot with like the Tua situation, the Brady situation. He got a raw deal in Miami. That man can coach. He's got a ring with the Patriots. Turned around the Vikings. He should be a head coach. He'd be number one in terms of coordinators on my list.
So I saw a video. This was before the 4th and inches play when they tried to do the QB sneak or the quote-unquote tush push with Brian Powell for some reason, trying to push Mullins.
167 pounds of Brian Powell. You never know.
Anyways, Brian Flores is like running up to KOC saying, call timeout, like right before that play. They didn't get it. but it made me realize, like, Brian Flores is still coaching as if he's a head coach. Like, he still has that mindset.
Absolutely. This is coming from me, the guy that always says you should go with an offensive-minded coach so that that calls plays,
Arthur
so that you
Smith.
don't have to. Oh God. So that you don't have to worry about also hiring an OC. Because if you're Flores, you're a defensive-minded guy. You still have to hire an OC. So this is coming from me that does not like to go that route with defensive guy. But that man's a coach, so he'd be number one. He'll look good in Atlanta next year.
Question 3, please.
Question number 3.
They're going to keep Arthur Smith and ruin my
I know they are.
life again.
From the 314, is Jordan Kyrou the Blues version of Paul DeYoung?
Ooh.
I don't think he's the Blues version of Paul DeYoung.
Paul DeYoung had half a good year.
He was an all-star one year. Kyrou's been an all-star.
But don't you think Jordan Kyrou's done more in his time with the Blues than DeYoung did with he was good.
Paulie D had a 30 home run season. I think the verdict is still out on Kyrou. He's in year one of an 8-year extension or whatever.
Do you think that
the money
DeYoung
changes everything in how you view a player? Everything.
Do you think DeYoung had as much upside? Let's talk upside. Do you think DeYoung had as much upside at one point in his career as Kyrou?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they gave him that contract with the idea that, hey, man, we may have stolen this guy because of what they saw, and he went south. It just didn't work out. But at the time, you locked him up. You bought out some arbitration years. You thought he was going to be a 25, 30 home run guy.
Yeah.
And then he just couldn't hit.
Yeah.
He was pretty solid defensively. Metrics bear that out. But it was kind of surprising the way that he went, for me at least.
So I'm thinking you're saying yes. Yes, the Jordan Kyrou is. I'm saying no. You're saying yes-ish.
What if Kyrou goes south? See, to me, it's the money. You gave DeYoung the extension, and he went south. You've given Kyrou an extension. What happens if he goes south? The difference is the money that Kyrou is getting could really hamstring the organization with as much as he 8 for 8 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's a long-term deal of 8 years, and it's in a cap league. That makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, good call. All right, we'll continue our sports six-pack next on 101 ESPN.
time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. And I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is now.
All right, a Sports Six-Pack is continued. Go ahead, Dan.
Question 4, please.
Question number 4.
All right, we've talked about Mizzou a few times today. This one comes from the 314. ZOU.
Thank you.
What are realistic expectations for Mizzou football next year, given the recruiting class Drink is getting and returning players, and the entry of Texas and Oklahoma?
I think either an undefeated or a one-loss season, a playoff appearance, hosting a playoff game. I think those are reasonable expectations based on the schedule next year.
You just said something that interests me. I had not looked this up. How does the college football playoff work with venues?
So I think the top something or other teams host. Let's see here.
And then they save the bowl games for the Final Four, maybe?
I believe so.
Okay.
College football playoff 2024.
So what? The first top two teams will get a bye, and then it would be the next.
I believe, yeah. Then you have the first round is hosting.
Okay.
And so then from there, I don't know when they go to the neutral sites.
So you're, I'm with you. I think one loss team, but I guess what are the reasonable expectations when you got the core of this group coming back, including headlining that Luther Burden?
I think
college football playoff.
I think the recruiting
and their schedule
outstanding. The recruiting has been outstanding. The hype and the buildup, I think, is real. They did not have, and I hope Mizzou fans know that. I mean, I think they would speak the same way. They did not have a Mizzou type game. They did not have a Mizzou type moment this year. They had a couple of opportunities, and they went the other way this year.
So you mean when the head coach doesn't manage the clock properly in a game against K-State, that's not a Mizzou moment?
You know what? They won the game. All right? They won the game. Here you go.
But it's true. They wouldn't have won those kind of games in the years past.
No, they would have.
Sure.
You know what? They would have lost to
Memphis.
Memphis. Or
no, they would have lost to Middle Tennessee State.
Yes.
Because they actually almost did.
Who is another team that they kind of messed around with? Florida. They would have lost to Florida. First round, one game, 3 games, one campus games, quarterfinals. So the quarterfinals would be the Fiesta Bowl, Beach Bowl, Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl. Semifinals, Orange Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Championship, National Championship. So the second round would be the bowls.
So you can host a game.
Pretty cool.
Question 5, please.
Question number 5.
From the 618, if you could work for a sports team, would you rather be a manager, player, or general manager?
I'm saying a player because I want to get paid.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah. General managers, they probably make good money, not anywhere close to what the players are making, and they have all of the heat.
Don't you think that's what makes it, to an extent, so hard to be a coach? And I don't care what league you're talking about, but your players, generally speaking, are making more than the head coach.
Yeah.
And so players easily can say, you know what, I don't need this. I'm making more than this guy. I don't have to listen.
Go blank yourself, San Diego.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Makes the job. I gave Tony La Russa a ton of credit for so many years. And one of the things that he had from his players, love him or hate him, they did respect him. They felt that he was going to put them in the best position to win. And I'm not saying that other coaches aren't trying to do that either, but he would get after guys and still have their respect. Where sometimes in sports, you see a coach, manager, whatever, get after guys, and then adios, they've lost all credibility with that player.
Yeah. It's hard to get it back, too.
Yeah, it is.
I think I'd rather be a general manager.
Yeah.
I mean, I could just mismanage that roster and keep my job.
Oh, Marsh.
What?
Typically not.
Oh.
You get about 3 years of messing around, then you get fired.
Short shelf life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to turn that thing around quickly.
If you're talking about Mo,
I'm not talking about anybody. I'm just saying in general.
I mean, Mo said, listen,
Don't be putting words in my mouth now.
You know, I see your face, Marsh. I see what you're thinking over there.
I'm not thinking whatever you're thinking I'm thinking.
Man,
maybe a little.
You were. About 3 years for a GM, 3 years for a coach.
Stop.
Unless you're a hockey coach, then you get about 3 months.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
And even if you win a cup, you get about 3 months.
Question 6, please.
Question number 6.
Ironically, from the 314, now that the Blues are back to their bad patterns, did Armstrong just fire Chief for a 2-game win streak? Since the same stuff is occurring that Chief talked about, what was the point in firing him? I'm confused why ESPN Radio is selling cars for the Blues instead of calling out the players and especially Doug Armstrong.
It's selling cars for the Blues? Is that what I heard?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we have said that the roster, we talked about it earlier.
What am I missing there?
Is not matching up with certain teams that you're playing, and that the margin of error, so read into it, your roster is not, the margin of error for the club is slim. You've got to be hitting on all cylinders every night to have a chance to win. We're really good teams, superstar teams that have them. Some guys take a night off and they still win. The Blues cannot do that.
With all due respect to this texter,
Go ahead.
Go back to last week when I spent 4 hours talking about exactly what you just said. Okay, don't give me this ESPN radio crap.
The next day, we talked about Jordan Kyrou and his comments.
4 hours I talked about how it was I call every tease I said, and we'll talk next about the horrible decision by Doug Armstrong. Get out of here with that stuff. Well, it's ESPN radio.
I'm not saying
last
go.
Wednesday.
You do what you got to do. Go.
Are you kidding me with this, Dan?
I'm just listening.
4 hours I had that take last week. Now this guy's going to come in and say, well, you're selling the Blues cars. I don't even know what that means.
You're carrying their water.
I'm carrying but one thing of water for myself.
And he spills it everywhere,
I
too.
spill it everywhere. Even if the Blues gave me water to carry, I'd spill it. That's just me.
I'm just
seen
listening.
better hands on a clock.
Question 7, please.
I'm seeing better hands on a fish. We did get a text earlier. I believe when we were doing, it was either Are You Sold or Prove Me Wrong, but the texter said something along the lines of, could the Blues just be essentially not using Bannister, but fired Berube just to see which players they have to weed out and then bring back Craig Berube as their head coach for next season? I don't think it would ever happen.
I will give that, whoever that was, I will give them credit for thinking outside the box. That was an interesting question. I give it a 0.0% chance, Dan.
If you are, 0% chance. If you're Doug Armstrong, what are you looking for out of your head coach right now?
The guy that's going to get the most out of the guys I paid the most. Like, let's be real.
I'm with you. What can you get out of Jordan Kyrou?
Yes, let's be real. That is the reason why. That's the number one reason. I don't care what anybody says. Actually, you know what? It's my opinion, okay? Let me be frank on this. Let me be clear. This is my opinion. The reason why Chief is no longer here is because he didn't maximize whatever upside or talent that Jordan Kyrou has. That's my opinion.
I would say that's one of the top reasons.
Follow the money, Dan.
No question about it. I mean, the thing about this roster, though, you guys would know better than me, but I think they have 10 or 11 no-trade contracts currently on the roster.
Right. So the roster's here.
So the point being is that with what you have, you better maximize the guys making top dollar.
Yeah.
And that means Jordan Kyrou.
I was even thinking about when we had JR on earlier, I was even thinking about asking kind of a get-ahead question on the trade deadline. Like, what does this look like? But then I thought about exactly what you just said. The number of no-trade clauses in these guys' contracts prohibits you from making moves, even if you want to. So if you're Army, you're looking at it, you're like, I dished out all these deals. I dished out all these no trade. I handed out these no trade clauses. This is the roster I believe in. So if you believe in this roster, you're going to try to find somebody that's going to maximize the talent. If you don't think that Chief is doing it, fine. But at the end of the day, if you don't find somebody that's going to maximize that roster, what's the problem?
What's the players? At what, like, you shouldn't need a coach to motivate you. Like, you're playing in the National Hockey League, the best league in the world. Go out there and put your nose put your nose down and go work hard, because let's say, and I know JR kind of touched on it, if they end up bringing in a coach that's just sort of going to let them do whatever they want offensively, well, then you're missing out on the defensive aspect of things, and you're going to get these 7-4 games, 6-1, whatever, and that's not going to help. But at what point, if you do bring in a tough coach, at what point do you say, okay, this is not working for the player because the player simply does not want to put in that effort?
Yep.
And I'm not trying to say Jordan Kyrou is going to be that type of person, because David Perron, at the start of his career, was sort of similar, and then he ended up being what he is now. So there is time for change, but at what point do you have to make a change if you're Doug Armstrong?
When do you think that was? At what point this year? When he started thinking, you know what? Something's got to be done. Maybe during like the Chicago game, maybe.
Yeah, that's bad.
I think there was a slow build up.
Yeah.
When you started to play those bad teams and start to lose, and it was just one loss on top of the other, and then it just erupted. That would be my thought on that.
That's where I was going too. If you win those games, I don't know if you can make that move yet. I think you wait till after the first of the year. Right. And the schedule is different now to where it's not an excuse, but it's tough to play on the road. It's just hard, and they're not a good road team, and they played a ton of road games in November. And now the schedule gives you a little time, play a game off. You're going to get some homestands coming up. You maybe would have given him to January 1, seeing how this road trip goes. Obviously not off to a good start.
Yeah.
But that's sometimes I think a GM looks at it that way. What stretch do I need to improve this club, or where the breaking point is, I should say.
By the way, Thanks Dad was the one that came up with that.
Oh, nice job.
Yeah,
Thanks, Dad.
He's funny.
He's very funny. Biggest question of the day next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues lost last night to the Tampa Bay Lightning by a final score of 6-1. They will be back in action tomorrow night taking on the Florida Panthers. Pregame starts at 5. Puck drop is at 6. Once again, Blues Panthers tomorrow night. Pregame at 5. Puck drop is at 6. You can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. We talked with Blues insider from The Athletic earlier today, Jeremy Rutherford. If you missed that interview or anything from today's show, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com. Check out the podcast page, or you can use the free 101 mobile app and find it there as well. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We have our biggest question of the day coming up next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
It's time for the Fast Lane's biggest question of the day.
The biggest question of the day. Now on 101 ESPN with Dan McLaughlin, I'm Anthony Stalter, Andrew Marsh.
Yeah, so a lot of people are wanting Yamamoto to be a Cardinal heading into the season. I don't think that is a secret by any means. And of course, Dan read off some of the teams that are interested in Yamamoto, and the Cardinals were not a part of that. So we have John Fozela.
Well, that was according to Jim Bowden.
Jim Bowden.
Yeah.
Had a tweet
brother.
out.
Yeah.
As Jamie would say.
No, it's not.
It's not. Oh, it's not. Okay.
No.
Anyways, John Fozela wanted to address maybe why the Cardinals are not in on Yamamoto, and then we will get to our biggest question of the day.
So, I think I inadvertently triggered Marsh, and to explain, we had a pretty big Zoom meeting scheduled with Yamamoto the other day, and I'm not sure if if you're familiar with our office. We have a pretty high-tech conference room. We put a lot of money into this room. It's got a huge projection screen and cameras on every seat of the table. So the person on the other side can see everybody at the table. And we had this big meeting with Yamamoto and his team, and when we walked in, I had myself and my entire brain trust. Gershie had his feet on the table and was playing MLB The Show, and to no surprise, he didn't have a hit, didn't have a run, and there was a perfect game going. So originally our first thought was, obviously you can't quit, but let's just get on with it, bunt. So he did. And then, one of my brain trusts said, this is special. It's a perfect game. So we allowed him to swing away. And unfortunately, we did miss the Yamamoto meeting because of this. We're not going to get Yamamoto, but, we do apologize to Marsh. We shouldn't have done that.
So there you go. That's why the Cardinals are not getting Yamamoto. My question for you, though, is if the Cards don't add better players to their roster, what are proper expectations for this team heading into the 2024 season?
So let's say that they don't make any more significant moves. Not that they don't make any moves, just any significant moves between now and the start of the season. Dan, what do you think? Proper expectations?
Over under around 87, 88 wins. I think that's realistic. Now, a lot of things have to go right. Don't get me wrong. And you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
Oh, no, I'm not at all.
But I'm looking at what's happening in the Central, and I understand there's more of a balanced schedule. You're not facing the Central as much as you did in years past. But they on paper, are better than they were a year ago. I'm expecting my corner guys to be pretty good. Generally speaking, they're very good. A lot of it is based on my projections with health, just like with all other clubs. But Nupar's got to play. Got to play more than he did a year ago. I'm leaving my lineup intact, meaning my everyday lineup includes Tommy Edman in center. There's a lot of, that was a state of flux last year, the outfield. Jordan Walker, second year under his belt, much better. Expect a decent year out of Mason Wynn. Expect a better year defensively out of my catcher.
Yeah.
So I think those are reasonable things to say that you can expect this year and to why the team would be better.
I think they'll be better, too. I mostly think because the division is an absolute joke.
Well, that's the part that I mentioned first.
You did mention it, and then I think you went practical. You went very reasonable. You went pro. I'll just say that the division's crap. The division is mostly built on teams that, like the Pirates, are not trying. The Reds, who are only feign trying. The Brewers are actively trying to trade away anybody that makes any amount of money outside of Christian Yelich. The Cubs are asleep at the wheel. They think Craig Counsell, I guess, is going to win them 100 games. And then the Cardinals do just enough. And that's it.
Do they get in then?
Yeah, they'll get in.
You think so?
Yeah, crap division. They'll win it.
Better than the Cubs.
Yeah.
I like the Reds.
If the Cubs don't bring back Cody Bellinger, that's a lot of their offense that's going out the window.
Yeah. There's some that are saying, they're not better on paper. I'm just looking at...
The Cardinals aren't better on paper?
Yeah.
I think they're better than what they... Well...
I mean, look at what they were throwing out there at the end of the year.
So Montgomery, you lose Montgomery, but let's just say you replace Montgomery with Gray. Michaelis is back. I think that the roller coaster ride that Michaelis had a year ago, let's just say that evens out a little bit more. Not that he's great, but you don't get the peaks and valleys. All I heard last year, anytime we brought up like Jack Flaherty, what can you expect? Everybody crapped on him. So I don't understand now the notion of you bring him, you want, last year's rotation better because they had Jack Flaherty. Get the hell out of here. Nobody believed in Flaherty last year. Not one person. So let's stop with that nonsense. So you bring back Lance Lynn and you got Kyle Gibson. Your bottom of the rotation is better than what you had a year ago, including, unfortunately, an Adam Wainwright that just never recovered from 2 years ago. That's just that it is what it is.
Yep.
So yes, I think the rotation is better. I think the bullpen still needs a lot of work, and I think the offense is largely intact.
So I
don't think you're unreasonable to say, Dan, that this is a slightly better team on paper.
Well, I don't anticipate 41 leads lost and 28 blown saves.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen this year. Just things even out, and they're better than they were on paper. So you're asking me expectations, or can they be better? And some folks on the text line, obviously are looking at it a different viewpoint than I am.
Were they saying you're crazy?
Yeah, pretty much. But I just don't think that
better can be slightly better. It could be marginally better. It's still better.
They did have 91 losses last year. Maybe I'm being too aggressive. 85 wins? Mid 80s? 82?
You
got any takers?
You're bargaining right now.
You got any takers?
77?
Hey, we got 82 here, 82. Hey, we got 83 right here. Can we get an 83? How about an 84?
Can I get 500?
83 wins, and you win the division.
You think so?
Terrible.
So they did no
division's
six.
Terrible. Marsh, you know
that
it.
bad.
You know it in your bones.
No, not that bad.
At some point, the Brewers, by the way, this little magic carpet ride, that puppy's crashing. All right? That team ain't that good.
I mean, they weren't that good last year. They still whooped on the Cardinals.
I'm not talking about the Cardinals. The pitching. The pitching has kept Milwaukee above water. And now that pitching is going to be gone. They don't have, what's his nuts again? What's his name?
Who are you talking about?
Miley?
No, the other guy.
From Milwaukee?
Yeah.
Brandon
Corbin.
Woodruff.
Thank you, Woodruff. I don't have Woody. He gone. Corbin Burns is going to be gone by the trade deadline. So you're going to have Freddie Peralta, and that's it. You traded Adrian Hauser. The pitching's gone.
What do you do with Devin Williams? What do you think he'd get you on
Trade
the open?
the Cardinals.
I mean,
yeah.
He'd get you a lot of. If you're dumping on the season and it looks like they are, Devin Williams will get you a haul.
Burns and Devin Williams. All right.
Oh.
Trade package centers on Dylan Carlson. Throw some pitchers in. You're good.
That's what you want. I got you.
Right?
I'm
Guys,
in.
Hey, you know what? Maybe
Guys,
the
right?
Cardinals aren't spending money this offseason because they want to go out and get those two guys next year.
Like the Dodgers
Marshy,
did with
they've
Shohei.
spent the sixth most money in baseball so far. We've spent $100 million.
No one's spending just yet. The Mets haven't even done anything.
No, I agree
mean,
with
they
that.
did today. They traded for somebody, but
yeah,
I think there's going to be some eye-popping numbers
Adrian
coming.
Hauser.
Yankees, you're going to get
the Yankees got
Mets.
The Yankees got to figure out. I mean, you better pay Juan Soto.
Yeah, lock him up long term.
After you acquired him, you better be locking up him long term, or else what was that for?
They won Yamamoto. Apparently, he wants to pitch on the biggest stages of baseball. There's none bigger than Yankee Stadium.
And he'll be a Dodger.
And we'll probably wind up on the West Coast and play for the Dodgers.
That's unfortunate, though, that they had that Zoom meeting. And it went awry.
That's on Marsh, though. Don't be throwing perfect games. All right, what you missed, criticisms, compliments next on 101 ESPN. If you missed anything from today's show, which included Dan McLaughlin filling in for Jamie Rivers, you can download the podcast at 101ESPN.com or your 101 ESPN mobile app, all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Dan, I know you moved some things around for us today, man. I really appreciate you filling in for the 4 hours. Thank you. We didn't have anybody lined up, so.
Love working with you guys. Thanks for having me in.
We thoroughly enjoy it as well. Love working with you, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
For a couple of hours.
So Jamie is on from 2 to 3, and then I'll be with you guys from 3 to 5 because we have Blues hockey.
That's right.
And I'll be with Randy on Friday morning doing the morning show.
There you go.
Yeah,
so 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock pregame tomorrow for the Blues.
Yep.
We got a Blues instant replay show coming up at 6 o'clock. But until we do that, Marsh, you got some criticisms and some compliments for us today?
Yeah, from the Snake Pit, Tanisha, a criticism for the movie Elf. She says, am I the only one that can't stand the movie Elf? That reminded me of the opening drive. They had their Christmas movie draft today.
Oh, did they?
Yes.
They did the old draft?
Randy took Elf in round 1.
Yeah, I like Elf. I don't, maybe she can explain why she doesn't like Elf or it drives her crazy.
Know.
Maybe she's not a Will Ferrell fan.
Maybe there's some people out there that are not Will Ferrell fans.
Or a Zoe Deschanel fan. I know you're a James Caan fan because James Caan was outstanding.
In the program.
In The Godfather. In basically everything he's ever been in ever.
I mean, you go from being Sonny in The Godfather, then you're in the Elf.
Yeah. And you know what? He was incredible in both.
Yes, he was. You're probably now at that time of your life, Anthony. Marshy, you'll get there, or maybe you're one of the kids. But where you're watching Christmas movie after Christmas movie at this time of year with your children.
Yes. I enjoy it.
I do too.
I like themes each month. As I get older, I like themes. So like October, I'm good with it. Like, let's just do all Halloween stuff for the month of October, right? Now, I'm not talking about wearing costumes all month, but getting the theme. Christmas, I'm good. As soon as Thanksgiving is over with, the day after, lights go up, tree goes up. Let's get this thing on.
So, like at Halloween time, you're getting the kids around and say, hey, let's gather and watch The Exorcist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the oldest is 7.
The original one?
Yeah, well, they got to see it at some point, Dan.
Yeah.
There's a new Exorcist movie it's either out or it's coming out.
Really?
Yeah.
How many exorcisms are we doing?
I mean, there's a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, that girl's head's just spinning around.
Keep spinning. Yep.
Unbelievable.
Scary movie.
By the way,
like your grandfather's favorite record.
Speaking of scary movies and Christmas movies, it looks like the last pick was The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, is that a Christmas movie or is that a Halloween movie?
Don't know.
Never seen it.
What?
I've never seen.
So do you get like the kids together and say,
Christmas time.
Hey, let's tonight, kids are watching Terminator?
Depends on what month.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is there a theme for
kind of a summer
type of movies?
I think that'd be like a summer blockbuster type of movie. So maybe a July.
I know you're only
July
7.
is a good artificial intelligence month.
I know you're only 7,
but I want you in what the future may look like.
Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to prepare you. These computers, these machines, they're coming for us.
Kids.
So let's be aware.
I want you to learn more about, let's say, John Rambo.
Yeah.
Tonight's Rambo.
Yep.
Again, I know you're 7, but I think you'll be into this.
You're going to enjoy basically what I grew up on with action films, which is one guy versus an army. I mean, that's your 90s flick. I grew up on it, all right?
I did too. I loved it.
You got Bruce Willis. I don't know if Die Hard was technically in the 90s or 80s. You go with, no, I'm not going to do the whole Christmas. I don't care about that. I'm talking about one guy against an army. That's my type of movie, Dan.
John Rambo is my dog.
Yep.
Who's the I might be saying this actor's name wrong. Michael Bean or Michael Ben? He played Kyle Reese in The Terminator. Like the main guy. Not Arnold, but
oh, yeah. You mean where is Sarah Connor?
Yeah, he's helping out Sarah.
Have you seen this boy?
Yeah, he's helping him out. He comes to help Sarah Connor against Arnold. When he...
Oh, that's Terminator. That's the first Terminator.
Yeah, the first Terminator.
Yeah, the second one is the cop I'm talking about. He was not
I'm not talking about the cop.
Oh, okay.
The liquid guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was nasty.
Have you seen this boy?
Yeah.
But that actor was like the main dude in Alien, too. I feel like that guy was like typecasted.
Oh, Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, he was the guy that was helping her out at the end of the movie.
That's another kid night.
No doubt.
Kids get together and watch an Alien.
Watch what could happen.
Aliens was pretty good, too.
It certainly was, yeah.
So,
just trying to help you.
I don't know how we got on that, but
you know what they should be
solid.
watching is the program.
Yep.
And we got a text from 636. The program sucks. Shame on you, Anthony.
You know what? Every once in a while, we get a program sucks text, and
you're thinking it's about the show?
Oh, no.
Okay.
You can say whatever you want about this show. You don't talk badly about the program. Bottom line.
You love it.
And say whatever you want about me. You don't touch the program.
I just want to be on the record if you think it is a Christmas movie.
Oh, the Die Hard thing?
Yeah.
No.
I don't either.
I'll say no.
Oh, because there was a Christmas party?
Right.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I'll say no to
The
that.
theme of the movie has to revolve around the spirit of Christmas for it to be a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right. I agree. Like,
Go ahead. What do you got?
Nothing.
All
Been a
right.
fun show. Been a real fun show. Texter that just texted in the program thing. I want you to do some soul searching tonight. All right? Because you got issues.
It was not Alien. It was Aliens.
Aliens. That's right.
Aliens,
There's multiple aliens. Good call on that one, Dan. Thank you.
No problem.
I messed it up.
Predators. Yeah, absolutely. For Andrew Marsh, Dan McLaughlin, Anthony Stalter, Blues Instant Replay coming up right now. See ya.